You still have time to change your prediction. Oh my God. Germany is deploying troops to Greenland. It's the death note. All right. All right. I'll blast off real quick. Dude, I'm bad. I'm bad. This year, all my predictions, especially on American insanity, American foreign policy is falling off the fucking wheels, dude. We are in a new environment. Okay. I am ready to admit that American foreign policy has become more Putin style than ever before. Like, the way of empire was not this belligerent. The way of empire has always been violent, right? It's always been violent. But the way of empire has never been as belligerent, and also in the same way as open. Like the viciousness has been so open. We are genuinely reaching Hitler Putler levels of insanity. I mean, we've been doing a much more sophisticated version of global domination for, the last 100 years, obviously post World War II. But now this is the next phase in American dominance, where we're just wrong. We have always been like this. No, that's not true. That's literally not true. It is objectively untrue. We have never been this belligerent and this open about our naked ambitions. Okay? Like, that's why I'm saying the impact of it might have been the same, right? That's why I said we spent the last like almost 100 years dominating the entire globe. Okay? But this level of brazen imperialism, like no holds barred, base boosted, totally open about it, like just straight up saying like, no, we're doing it for oil, or no, we're doing it for natural resources, or like, it's just, I've never seen anything like it. Okay. I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible. Will Trump strike Iran? Elon is a white supremacist. New York Attorney General collapsed Beitar. ICE crackdown. Prosecutors resign over ICE shoot. Okay, twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Let's blast off another prediction down the fucking drain. Okay, on the domestic front, your boy's got it. On the foreign policy front, your boy had it a lot better last year. My predictions were 19 out of 20 last year. This year, it's fucking cooked. Because the reasons as to why it's incredibly stupid to try and take over Greenland, like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, it does not make sense from a traditional imperialist sense. Okay. The reason why I make these sorts of predictions is because I'm thinking about it like a dying empire that still has a good grasp on rational, clear-cut imperial mindset. This is a different meta. This is a different attitude. Like, one of the things that I have consistently stated for you guys over and over again is the fact that Donald Trump is never going to rip apart NATO, right? Because it does not make sense. It makes no damn sense for America to just like personally destroy its largest vehicle of imperialism. NATO has been sold as a security contract for a lot of these countries, when in fact it was always a protection racket, right? It was always a protection racket. You said the same thing about Putin, to be fair. Exactly. Because the invasion of Ukraine was an irrational act. The invasion of Ukraine was an irrational act. And the potential invasion or annexation of Greenland is also an irrational act. Because I root my analysis in common sense. I assume that great powers, state leaders, no matter how crazy they might personally be, are still going to have some level of logic, some level of rationale in the way that they behave, because we're talking about state actors. It's not usually a unilateral decision-making process. It's oftentimes, I mean, there's no single man that goes, I'm doing it, right? And maybe with Vladimir Putin, there is a single man. But at least in America, there are a multitude of different financial factors at play that are supposed to be restraining the government. Capitalism, capital owners in general. But to be fair, I feel like we live in a different environment now. especially considering that even the forces of capital are clearly not upset enough at Donald Trump trying to take away the independence of the Fed and utilizing the Department of Justice to criminally prosecute Jerome Powell in order to threaten him because he's not moving fast enough on lowering interest rates in the way that Donald Trump wants. And the reason why I say that we're living in a very different time is because it has gotten to a place where like capital is unpredictable as well, because in my expectation would be that the markets would open red and they would stay red, right? When you see someone like Jerome Powell being threatened in this way, he comes out and makes this like hostage style video saying Donald Trump is trying to kill me. You know, like the expectation is that the market reacts to that volatility by losing confidence in the state. Clearly that's not happening, right? It's not happening. So
take a look.
For me, looking at all this stuff, it leads me to believe that there is a lot more room for irrational behavior. There's a lot more room by leadership to engage in volatility and irrational behavior. And therefore it just makes it infinitely harder to predict where we go. Right? That's the problem with these sorts of predictions. I took the long way home to explain to you why another one of my predictions might be fucking wrong when I said we don't annex Greenland, because Greenland makes no sense. Annexation of Greenland makes no sense. Greenland barely has a fucking 3-month window for commerce. And even then, there are obviously still many issues with the weather. Okay. Extracting natural resources from Greenland already is very difficult. It's a very difficult endeavor. Okay. Like there are much cheaper methods of extraction. There are much cheaper methods of extraction elsewhere. Straight up. Like I'm looking at this from a logical through a logical lens. And I think it's partially because, yes, the melting ice, global warming is real, and it will become a much more viable territory to overtake. And also its proximity to Russia is important, and you can control the Arctic routes when the ice melts and there's new trade routes that open up around the Arctic Circle. I guess like that's part of the reason. It's a future ambition that we're locking down right now. But even then, it's like, yeah, the level of investment required to harvest Greenland's natural resources makes it not really worth it in the first place. And this is the same exact argument you can make for Venezuela. Venezuela is not the regular style of imperialism that you see, because oil extraction in Venezuela is not as profitable because of the heavy crude and because of the upfront investment that is a necessity to build up the refineries in Venezuela, especially considering the potential for political instability. It makes it so that like a lot of these companies, Western companies, don't want to actually invest in Venezuela, right? Like there's all these arguments, but at least with Venezuela, I can understand that you still want to dominate the entirety of this currently very important energy resource that in an effort to leverage the next energy resource that China already controls, right? Because China is going to run the world when the world shifts over to renewables. America might destroy the world before we get there by way of anthropogenic climate change or directly with nuclear holocaust. But like, it's obvious that China looked to the future and said, the future is renewables. We're going to dominate the space. We're going to have all the battery tech. We're going to control all the rare earth minerals on the procurement side and the refinement side. And nobody can come close. Nobody has the industrial base to come close to that. And America was like, bet. Well, we're still running on oil, so I'm going to take all the oil. And if you ever threaten me with a rare earth mineral export control ever again, I will shut off the oil faucet to you, right? But this doesn't, like, my point is, even from an empire sense, Venezuela makes more sense than a permanent annexation of Greenland, especially when you already had military bases in Greenland. You could still have military bases in Greenland. It's a fucking NATO country. It's a territory under a NATO nation without doing all this shit, without like genuinely flexing on your vassals. Like, it feels very strange. It feels incredibly strange to flex on your vassals like this, especially when they've been loyal servants of empire. The European Union and NATO both have served America willfully and diligently for the last almost 100 years at this point. And America is still like, it's not enough. I need you to suck it. And they're like, no, we'll get on our knees and we'll suck it, sir, please. And he goes, no, you need to suck it harder. And you need to tickle my asshole. And also, I'm taking your family members too. It's just, it does not make sense. It does not make sense at all. Danish Prime Minister, if Donald Trump attacks Greenland, it will be the end of NATO. I mean, yeah, it would be. It should be. We shall see where it goes. It does not make any sense. This is their only opportunity for projecting any kind of force. Well, this and also I guess like the tools of espionage that the Danish authorities have always had, working alongside the Americans closely with their operations. So I don't know what that means. We're also gearing up for potentially war. Evacuation has begun. U.S. Air Force planes evacuating the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Okay, this is weird because I've talked about this already, but I'm supposed to be going to Qatar soon. And I feel like I'm not going to be able to go to Qatar if this keeps going. Trump is not budging. Anything less than U.S. owns Greenland is unacceptable. I saw that. I saw what's going on. Danish spies are so effective that you didn't even think such a thing could exist until you saw this message. Yes, Danish espionage is interesting. Anyway, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Hasanabi curse continues. Yeah. Denmark is deploying an advanced command to Greenland consisting of a military material support and forward personnel ahead of a large force from the army that is expected to arrive soon on the territory. In addition to aircraft from the Royal Danish Air Force, according to Greenland-based newspaper Sørmit Siag. I mean, I want to say critical support to Denmark. Okay, critical support to Denmark in their anti-imperialist endeavor here, even though technically, I guess Greenland is also like a colonial holdover. It's not, but still, critical support. This is what I mean by critical support. Okay, critical support to the anti-imperialist forces of Denmark. I don't even know what to say here. What are we doing? This is like, Donald Trump was like, listen, I realized I can't fuck with countries that have nukes. And who are the only countries that don't have nukes? Countries that are under our nuclear security umbrella. So I guess I can just fuck them up. Someone's got to get fucked up. We got all these tools. We got all these weapons. We got to fuck them. Okay? We got to fuck someone. I can't fuck Russia. They got nukes. Can't do shit to North Korea. They got nukes. I have to fuck somebody up. Who is sitting there waiting to be fucked? Countries that previously thought they were under a security cooperation and under the nuclear security umbrella of NATO. That's right. That's what we got to do. Denmark, you mean South Norway? What happened to Colombia and Cuba? I mean, hopefully he'll have his hands too busy with, well, Colombia might be fine because I think Petro called him and they had a good conversation. And I feel like things like that go a long way with Donald Trump, especially because Gustavo Petro is like such an interesting guy and Trump loves interesting guys like that. And I suspect Gustavo Petro just did one phone call and was like, listen, big dog, you know, you got swag. I got swag. It's all good. And then Trump was like, all right, he likes me. He's my weird little guy. He likes me. I like him too. I've heard, I don't know the veracity of this reporting, but I've heard a similar thing happen with Lula as well, where Lula called him up and was like, Bolsonaro is always in the hospital. He's a weak man and a pussy. Stop defending him. It makes you look bad. You should look strong. And then Trump was like, all right, it's fine. Brazil is okay. He's just like, it's strange, but things like that seemingly work with Donald Trump, which is why I've always been weirded out by how he didn't like Maduro. You know, he loves authoritarian strongmen. Maduro dances. He's quirked up. He does like funny shit. You know, Maduro is exactly the type of guy that Trump would be friendly with. And I've said this before. I said this before the arrest as well. I was like, why is Trump not tight with Maduro? It seems like Maduro is exactly the type of dude that Trump will be tight with. But he hated Maduro even in the first term. He fucked Venezuela so hard. If Chavez never died and was still alive, by the way, and I mean this sincerely, if Chavez was still controlling Venezuela, Donald Trump would never touch Venezuela. Donald Trump would love Chavez. I believe that 100%. Because like Maduro's a funny guy. He's a quirky guy. But like Chavez especially was very charismatic. And I feel like that type of charisma Donald Trump really appreciates. It goes a much longer way than you would think. It would never work with other administrations, as it clearly didn't. Okay? Because Maduro's a left-wing dictator, according to all of them. That's all Trump needs to hear. What are you talking about? He loves Xi Jinping, and he actually has a fairly interesting relationship. I would say a better relationship with Kim Jong-un than other prior American presidents. So no. Did they bomb the body? No, they didn't. That was fake news. That was fake news. Like Chavez in some ways was doing Trump before Trump. Look,
Te metiste conmigo,
you messed
pajarito.
up with me, Birdie.
Te metiste conmigo,
You messed up with me,
pajarito.
Birdie. No. This is Hugo Chavez calling George W. Bush a donkey. Yeah, he says, a great ignorance is what you've got. You're an ignorant Mr. Danger.
Eres un ignorante. Eres un burro, Mr. Danger.
He says, you're a donkey, Mr. Danger. And he's talking about George W. Bush. This is what Trump would say to George W. Bush. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very Trumpian way to operate. Yeah, he was a lion. Chavez was a lion. I will say that. I will stand on that. Anyway, he was a lion. He was a man. Okay, he was a man. Mr. Danger. Burro means fool. It means donkey, right? I mean, you could say in Spanish, you call someone a donkey when you say they're stupid. Like when you mean they're stupid, but that's what it is. He's still calling him a donkey. Anyway, we went all over the place, but obviously we're going to be talking about fucking Greenland right now. Germany is deploying troops to Greenland. Denmark is deploying troops to Greenland. Donald Trump is supposed to be holding an Oval Office event to do another signing ceremony, and all eyes are on him, obviously. But the reason why we're starting off with, America Empire today, as Donald Trump has set his sights on, Greenland is because I don't even fucking know anymore. I don't know anymore. But apparently Donald Trump said anything less than U.S. control is unacceptable on Greenland. So let's start there.
Trump just said the United States needs Greenland and that anything less than total control is unacceptable. The question is, what is he willing to do about it? Given that the Prime Minister of Greenland says he does not want to be part of the United States, the people of Greenland do not want to be part of the United States, according to opinion polls. So the president just wrote that Greenland is, quote,
leftist Twitter cooked you for it, but I'm assuming your tweet yesterday said the left position on Iran is to end sanctions and demands for democracy was talking about the mainstream left, Bernie, AOC, and not the actual left. Could you clarify? Yes. No shit. Do they also think I'm like pro Barack Obama? I was saying that it is crazy to me that the left position on Iran, or not even the left position, but like the Democratic Party's like normal position led by Barack Obama was the utilization of sanctions in exchange, like sanctions relief in exchange for like getting Iran to ease up on certain things. And the JCPOA was a objectively successful method to normalize relations with Iran. And it is, in my opinion, such a dramatic tide shift that even Bernie fucking Sanders is not running first and foremost with sanctions relief. And it's really funny that like left Twitter is yelling at me for that position, but then also all the fucking NATO NatSec liberals are also yelling at me, including like the American Enterprise twink, the American Enterprise Institute twink from Syria, that is that has never seen an American imperial domination force that he hasn't actually jerked off to, whatever the fuck his name is, and also a boner box as well. They've been like freaking the fuck out. They've been freaking the fuck out because they're like, sanctions relief? What do you mean you want to fucking what do you mean you don't want Iranian children to starve? Like, fuck you. We have to liberate Iran by starving them over and over again. So there is I've once again found the the perfect middle ground where everyone on the left is yelling at me because they misunderstand my position, and everyone on the right is yelling at me always because they're on the right. But yeah, it's very cool. I find myself once again making a very reasonable stance here. Currently in Qatar, crashing out. Can your country please not strike Iran? We're exhausted. Yeah. I can't stop that. American foreign policy is completely outside of my control. I apologize. But good luck. Also, I'm supposed to be in Qatar soon in a couple weeks. If it's still even sustainable to go there. It kind of feels like when you see American the American evacuation taking place with the U.S. Air Force, I'm going to be flying Leroy Jenkins style directly in the direction of the fucking, action, I guess. You don't even know what countries will be on the map in a couple weeks. I'd stay home, my dude. Yeah. Your Twitter language fucks you so much, man. You got to be more succinct and clear. No. This is untrue. First of all, there's already a limitation with how many letters you can use on Twitter. I refuse to ever do a long tweet. That's number one. Number two, that's not the reason why people misunderstand you professionally on Twitter. The reason why people misunderstand you professionally on Twitter is because that's what works. Okay? What works on Twitter is people professionally misunderstanding you, and they make money off of it, as a matter of fact. And this is precisely the reason why people will continue doing that. That's it. That's the real reason. Because I could say, this happens all the time. The waffles pancakes equation is very common, right? The waffles pancakes thing is it's ironic because it first went viral on Twitter. The whole I said I like waffles, you said fuck pancakes. No, I didn't. That's a whole different sentence. Is something that people used to do on Twitter all the time, and it's only gotten worse because now it's monetized. They're cooking your ass and anarcho-tribalist blue sky. Okay. This is what people are talking about, by the way. I say any kind of left position on Iran should start with a demand that the American government end sanctions in exchange for demands of a democracy or anything else for that matter. I cannot believe that we're past this point now. Obama got the JCPOA done with sanctions relief. Of course, anything but a full-throated support for the Ayatollah and the Islamic Republic is always going to be met with a lot of anger, especially considering that the fall of the Ayatollah, the fall of the Ayatollah, or specifically the fall of the Islamic Republic, would be fantastic for Israel, right? And that's precisely what they're trying to foment here. They want to turn it into a fucking Syria-style situation, right? You said start, that makes it completely valid. It is the start, not the limit. Exactly. And if you noticed, I got yelled at by people who were saying well, you're clearly a Mossad agent, or you're clearly laundering the liberal Zionist position or something like that. And the reason why people say that is because, like I said, anything but a full-throated, unconditional support for the regime in this situation is seen as, as supporting Israel, which I kind of understand. I'm sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to that assessment because it's true. It would be beneficial for Israel, right? But my assessment on this is a little bit more nuanced, where I'm talking about stability. I'm talking specifically about stability in Iran and maintaining sovereignty in Iran. And as I explained, there's there's 3 pressure points here. 2 of them are obviously external and virtually impossible for the Iranian government to change, but the one is domestic. Okay? People want you to either be an interventionist who love American adventurism or be someone who defends every single action, every regime that nominally opposes the U.S. Okay, first of all, Iran doesn't nominally oppose the U.S. Iran opposes the U.S. with its entire pussy, okay? Iran is literally the most oppositional force to the United States in the region. Let's be real. This is precisely the reason why they want to dominate it. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is the point I'm making here is that instability of any sort and without like reforms coming in, which will inevitably lead to mass instability that causes the state to collapse eventually, right? It's either going to happen in the hands of the current regime or it's going to happen eventually in the hands of Israel and America. I would rather have it moderate in the hands of the current regime with significant reforms. Anything that moves in that direction will have a much better outcome for a transitional state maybe down the line, depending on what the Iranian people want. You know what I mean? It's like, it's about maintaining sovereignty for the Iranian population. Starving the Iranian people, on the other hand, is just fucking cruel. Iran is already liberalizing slowly. I know but that's neither here nor there. There's too much. There's too much anger and resentment. Alhamdulillah, USA is going to strike and murder that pig Khamenei. And I know even though you act like you condemn the regime, you and your tanky viewers are going to be fuming. Tanky. Brother, you can't say Alhamdulillah and then say tanky, okay? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Either, like, what is happening here? Why are fucking Arab posters in my chat literally fucking using, like, American Western chauvinist terminology to describe a perspective? Say it with your fucking chest, pussy, okay? I'm Iranian. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm secretly in the tank. This is what I want. On the one hand, in the United States of America, I get mad when abortion restrictions are placed on women, denying their bodily autonomy, or when trans people are under the crosshairs. Obviously, neither of those two things are actually a real issue in Iran, but let's say, you know, gay people are in the crosshairs, right? What leads you to believe that any sort of social conservatism is something that I would be on board with? It's not, okay? It's very stupid. If I don't like any sort of social conservatism or any sort of repression in the United States of America, obviously I'm not going to be in favor of it in Iran as well. If we're talking about foreign policy, that's an entirely separate position. Stop pretending, man. Yes, you're right. I love the Islamic Republic. I love, as a socialist, I am a big fan and super fond of arresting, imprisoning, jailing, torturing socialists and communists alike. This is my thing. This is what I like because I'm actually a Shia Muslim. Not even like what would I be pretending here? Like what would possibly be the thing that I'm pretending? Okay. But the IR fucked up when China's right there. I mean, it seems you constantly dehumanize us, law. Man, bitch, shut your bitch ass up. You constantly dehumanize us. Shut your bitch ass up. I'm over here talking about fucking trying to fucking offer freedom to the Iranian population from the otherwise repressive nature of the state by fucking easing up on the restrictions that are making the population suffer. And you're over here being like, no, it's actually good that mama and dada are getting fucking destroyed in Iran because they need to fucking take up arms and start killing security forces in the country until they deserve food. The fuck? Because that's the American position. The American position in this circumstance is they don't deserve food or medicine until they actually kill the Ayatollah. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's a fucking insanely inhumane position to hold. People give you shit for your Iran takes, but I find them to be mostly fair and consistent with a belief in sovereignty and human rights. You're not an IR dick rider like the most annoying people on Twitter, or we love every bomb the U.S. drops liberal. No, I'm not.
Which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution. And another piece of information that I think is very important is the leaker has been found and is in jail right now. And that's the leaker on Venezuela. And a very bad leaker. So there could be some others, and we'll let you know about that. We're hot on their trail. But the leaker has been found, and the leaker's in jail. And will probably be in jail for a long time. Let's see what happens. So we'll...
The inhumane take is not calling for airstrikes on a murderous regime that killed 12,000 people. First of all, those are CBS numbers. And secondly, the solution is to kill more Iranians. Like, what the fuck are you saying, man? This is why earlier I was joking about Barry Weiss, or not really joking, but saying that, you know, Barry Weiss bought CBS specifically to fucking do Israel's bidding and also to be pro-Trump. And you're seeing that, okay? It's the government's own leaked figures. Yeah, you're right, dude. You're right. No, totally.
I think you've done a great job. But it's great. It's great to have you here again. Thank you. Appreciate it. So today I'm delighted to sign the whole milk for healthy kids.
It's just so stupid because, like, even what the conservative estimates are, which is around 2,000, which probably means is more than that. But even the conservative estimates are cruel and unusual. You can just say the number that most of the analysts are saying. You don't have to fucking lie at the behest of Israel, okay? It's the same exact fucking atrocity propaganda being laundered after October 7. October 7 was fucking, crazy enough. You didn't have to like make up all of this additional atrocity propaganda to be like, oh, they were actually lining up babies and chopping their heads off with a chainsaw. They would just like put the babies in a row and just whip the chainsaw over to cut all of the babies' heads or whatever. Like, why? I know why. It's because you already gave the game away. You want America to bomb Iran. And you're a fucking moron for that position, by the way. Because if anything, bombing Iran would unironically harden the position of the government. If your goal is government change, regime change in Iran, bombing Iran is only going to harden the position because Iranians want sovereignty. Iranians want sovereignty more than anything else. It's so funny that even Trump seemingly, amidst talking about how he's going to fucking invade Greenland, is demonstrating more restraint than the absolute fucking weirdos in this chat. That's what's so crazy about it. I'm Iranian, you're not. I don't give a fuck what you are, brother. I don't think you understand. Last week we did this with Venezuela, okay? Last week we did this with fucking Venezuela. Shut up. I want Iran to have sovereignty. I want the Iranian people to be free, okay? I want Iran to have sovereignty. I want Iranian people to be free. You are demanding America strike your country. You're a fucking idiot, okay? Sorry. You're a self-hating fucking moron. I'm of course sympathetic to the fucking people protesting against the Islamic Republic. Having said that, you know what I'm not sympathetic towards? People demanding America bomb Iran. Suck my dick. I don't give a fuck what you are, okay? The moment that you come in here and you say, no, Mr. President, please airstrike my country, you're a fucking idiot. Not only are you a fucking idiot, like, not only are you a fucking moron of epic proportions for the first reason being that, you know, you're going to be killing your countrymen in the hands of American bombs, okay? But the other reason why you're a fucking idiot is if your goal is regime change, this is actually going to make regime change less likely. If you're Iranian, you probably know better by now that there is already a very deeply embedded parallel state that has tremendous control in Iran. What are you going to do with the IRGC? You can't just bomb the entirety of the IRGC away. It doesn't work that way. If that did work, right? Israel has tremendous espionage capabilities and assassinated so many of the fucking high-ranking IRGC officers when they were destroying Iran, when they were bombing Iran. What happened? It didn't destroy the regime at all, especially considering that the regime derives its legitimacy from the Shia population that is on board with the mullahs, that's on board with what the Ayatollah is doing. And the IRGC is the enforcement mechanism for it. It's a much more complicated situation than the one you present. And American bombs would not actually change the outcome at all. As a matter of fact, if your goal there is regime change, it's probably going to make it less likely for any sort of real regime change to take place. So shut the fuck up. I don't do standpoint epistemology when people are talking about advancing the interests of American empire. I don't give a shit. The entire purpose of the diaspora population is so that we can have a never-ending cycle of justifications for this kind of militant action, okay? Don't do this. Wokely saying America must glass Tehran, please.
Just in the last year. And when you think about the ag deficit that happened under Joe Biden and the 4 years. We went from a surplus of agriculture products when we left the first time to a $50 billion deficit when we came back. Yeah. So these are massive.
Anyway, I don't really give a shit about what Trump is saying here. You missed this courtesy of the bonds. Trump, we have news about Iran that we will talk about. We have been told that the killing has stopped and there are no plans to execute protesters. I mean, he's doing the same thing he did with like Delcy Rodriguez, where he's like, if the goal is to fucking get a leverage over the regime and dominate them, then it's not advantageous for them to fucking bomb the country. I mean, they still probably will, but I haven't seen any carriers moving in the direction of Iran so far. So obviously, like, I don't know how they would do it unless they do like another American bombing campaign that starts in the United States of America and flies over. But that's usually for much more complicated, precise strikes that you go where you go after like Fordow or something. And they have bases nearby. No, that doesn't matter. If you don't have fucking carrier groups in the region, you can't defend against the Iranian retaliation. There's no guarantee that you're going to strike all of their strike capabilities, their mid-range and long-range missile capabilities, especially when there are so many fucking underground bunkers, underground facilities where they're actually making the missiles, underground facilities where they actually have a shit ton of mid-range, like surface-to-surface, like all of these different weapons that they have at their disposal. So you have to have a defensive mechanism to try to make sure that Israel doesn't get pummeled. If you're Iranian, you don't have to agree with me, okay? You don't have to agree because you're from the place and therefore I cannot have an argument here. Okay, listen to Iranian voices, people say. Okay, Khamenei is a fucking Iranian voice. Like, this is a dumb argument. Do you understand? The Ayatollah is Iranian. You know, some people want to listen to his voice. I'm not listening to his voice, so shut the fuck up. This is why I hate this argument. Like, oh, listen to Iranian voices, please. Okay. All right, got it, dude. You know, standpoint epistemology. Okay, the Ayatollah is an Iranian voice. And it's really fucking annoying because I'm not even in favor of what this regime has done anyway. I'm not even in favor of it. And now you got me looking like I'm fucking out here being like, no, the Islamic Republic is awesome and they're great and they should continue doing the things that they're doing, when that's not even the case. But I guess that's the purpose, right? You come in here and you say some fucking stupid ass bullshit, and then I snap back at you and say, no, America glassing Tehran is not going to save anybody. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to be significantly worse. And then you clip that and you go, Hassan loved the Islamic Republic. And then the fucking drama cycle continues for your pedophilic favorite content creators out there. Dumb fucks. No, you listen to the Iranian voice that strengthens our position that is bombing Iranians. Exactly. Listen to the Iranian voices that actually want the Iranian economy to collapse even further. Otherwise, you'd be helping the regime. You'd be helping the regime. Yeah, I know, man. This is my first time dealing with American sanctions and people who justify them. I didn't realize that like most of these countries outside of the security apparatus of the United States don't actually have this kind of fucking design where sanctions on the administration doesn't actually harm or impact the economy at all. No, the entire point of the fucking sanctions is so that people are punished, so that they get so mad that they take up arms and try to fucking kill the government. It's to punish the people enough that there is enough volatility, enough instability in the country that they take up arms and kill the fucking Ayatollah. That is the whole purpose of the fucking sanctions. And what's crazy about all of this is that people, on the one hand, openly justify that. And they say, well, we hate the Ayatollah, so it's good. It doesn't matter if my fucking, family members are being starved in Iran. It doesn't fucking matter to me at all. Okay. They should what? They should fight better. Is that the argument here? I want Iranians to maintain a sovereign state. Okay. I want them to if they want to fucking continue having whatever style of government, whatever form of government they want, great. Okay. As long as they have sovereignty. Demanding American bombs is not sovereignty. The country is not sovereign because it's under the mullahs. Okay, that's fucking ridiculous. No, you don't agree, and neither do I, especially when it comes to domestic affairs, with the way that they approach their own domestic repression. There is a difference between us not agreeing with that, versus sovereignty. Okay? Elections don't work, man. We've tried. I know. That's why I'm saying if the sanctions already exist, and it's like a fucking cruel measure that has actually caused tremendous punishment to the Iranian population, then one way to actually find a reasonable, manageable negotiation is to lean into what the public's discontent is and then offer sanctions relief. I'm not a campist on this stuff, even though as far as the foreign policy of Iran goes, I know that many Iranians internally will say, oh, the reason why Iran is this way is because it's constantly meddling in the affairs of the fucking region, okay? The reason why Iran is this way is because it's funding Hezbollah, it's doing the axis of revolution, or it's funding the axis of resistance against American imperialism. And if they actually spent the money elsewhere, if they spent it here at home, we'd be in a much better situation or whatever, right? Like that's like one of the ways in which a lot of Iranians get upset with the IRGC. But I think the major problem there is still internal repression. You know, killing protesters, things of that nature, jailing them for ridiculous offenses, made up shit. Okay? That's what you do when you're weak. That's what you do when you're a weak country. Iran might be strong when it comes to its regional politics, okay, or was, at least until this last year or last 2 years, when Israel and America basically fucking engaged in the most violent conquest that you've ever seen. But as far as it's a common sentiment in Iran that the state, yeah, I know it's a common sentiment in Iran that the state spends too much money on proxies instead of investing in the economy, not realizing that the only reason why there isn't enough money to go around in an otherwise resource-rich country is because of the fucking sanctions. And these guys don't fucking realize that even if Iran wasn't setting up these proxies in an effort to at least claw back some fucking regional autonomy from Israel, okay? Even if they weren't doing that, Iran would still get the fucking sanctions. It's so stupid. The idea that Iran, as a sovereign country outside of the fucking, outside of the control of the United States of America, was never going to be punished if it wasn't for fucking Hezbollah, if it wasn't for the Ansar Allah movement, the Zaidi Shias in Yemen, or if it wasn't for the Sunnis, Hamas, that they are offering, logistics to and training to, then America would let them go. You're fucking delusional. That's not the case at all, because they still have striking capabilities. They can still strike Israel if they wanted to. Okay? That's the real problem. The real problem is America has a fucking design for this goddamn region, and that design includes a completely servile, completely dominated Arab and Iranian. All the fucking regional Arab countries either have to be perfect little vassal states like the Gulf states are, or they have to be destabilized and broken apart like Syria. You're such a weird, rigid weirdo. Two things can be true at the same time without it being propaganda. Dumb fuck, it's not propaganda. Honestly, it says the fact that the Iranian government murdered thousands of his people and keeping the government in place is probably not going to work. That doesn't mean I want the fucking... Wait, what? Are you talking to me or the other person? Because... Sorry, that wasn't meant for you. That was meant for another chatter. Okay, I was about to say, like, people are now arguing against positions that I do not hold. Okay, that person was talking to another chatter. Anyway, that's where we're at, though. I thought the internet was down in Iran. How are all these Iranians tuning into the stream? They're not in Iran, brother. What are you talking about? They're not tuning in from Iran, no matter how hard they say they are. They're tuning in from Westwood and London and Canada and all of these other places. But this doesn't mean that there aren't fucking Iranians in Iran who are also, Iranians in Iran also have similar attitudes to the diaspora Iranians. Now, obviously, it's not as commonly shared. For example, one of the things that you see in the diaspora is MEK, support for MEK. Doesn't exist in Iran at all, okay? That's not a thing at all. Big part of the reason is because of MEK support for Iraq. So that's gone. There is no domestic consideration for MEK at all. There are, Shah writers. Okay, there are Shah writers in mostly the diaspora community. There are some people who think the Shah will actually bring a secular democracy by way of Israel and America that believe this nonsensical thing internally in Iran as well. Because for them, the only cruelty that they have seen is from the fucking Islamic Republic. They haven't seen the Shah. They don't remember what the Shah was like. They don't comprehend why the initial Iranian revolution took place to begin with, because at the time, the Shah was doing way worse shit than what the Ayatollah has done, or same things that the Ayatollah has been doing, right? So there's different camps. And there are, of course, a multitude of different opinions internally inside of Iran as well. It's easier to say, I want my country bombed when you're in diaspora. I know. Iran is a very large and very diverse country. Okay? This is the problem. Without someone controlling this entire process, it will collapse, especially with all of the external pressures. Would the ideal situation be a democratic republic of Iran that adheres to an ideology of social democracy with reforms? I mean, this is not up to me. This is not up to us at all. That's my point. You know what I mean? Like, this is not up to any of us. Like, sure, that would be great. I would love a fucking communist Iran. You know what I mean? Okay, great. But it's not up to me. This is why I always say, like, well, the Palestinians voted for Hamas. It's like, okay, well, I'm not Palestinian. You know what I mean? Hey, Iranian leftists here, we do exist. We're just not the louder voice. Yeah, part of that is because all of the domestic Iranian leftists have been destroyed. They've been killed. They've been thrown in prison. They've been tortured. And unfortunately, there's not like that prominent of a voice. And obviously, America initially deposed of Mossadegh anyway, even though he was a social democrat at most. He was a national, he wanted sovereignty. He was a nationalist first and a social democrat second. And even that was too much for America. So obviously none of the fucking people from the diaspora are going to be in any way, shape, or form a part of any of the, pro-Soviet bloc Iranians or any of the other, non-aligned socialist Iranians. They're not. It's all going to be mostly Shah supporters. And I guess the closest you can get to is MEK. The closest you can get to like a socialist Iranian in the diaspora is going to be Rudolph Giuliani and John Bolton, two prominent lobbyists for the terror group that is known as MEK, which at some point was, I guess, socialist. Anyway, I believe Mossadegh was greatly alienated as he was at odds with the monarchists and Islamic fundamentalists who rallied against them both or were bribed by foreign actors to be against them. No, he was the monarchist first and foremost. But what's crazy to me is that in spite of the initial takeover in Iran, the Ayatollah, for all of its, the mullahs, the Ayatollahs, for all of their fucking regressive attitudes about domestic policy, have still, to the best of their ability, tried to focus on making sure that the Iranian population is educated and whatnot. So there is there is tremendous repression at the same time, but this creates this weird juxtaposition where you are creating an incredibly well-educated population with access to the internet, and they see all of the beauties of liberalism and freedoms and whatnot. And obviously they're going to be like, I want that. The fuck do you mean I can't have that? That's stupid. That's bullshit, right? Doors open. My people are getting killed and you still defend them? Man, shut the fuck up. I'm not defending them. Jesus Christ, you're so fucking stupid. Please listen to my words. Why isn't doors open? Bro, this little lady thinks she's a damn guard dog, okay? Every time there's delivery throughout the day, she perks up, she starts growling, she thinks she's it. It's crazy. She's a damn guard. She's not a damn guard dog. She's a damn guard bear. Okay? A warrior. She about to show the robbers where to look, but first the fridge. Anyway, Kaya has the warrior ethos. True. So she's a cop? In some ways, yes. Listen to Kaya's voices. Listen to the Kaya voices in the chat. My grandpa was hardline Shah loyalist to Iran during the revolution, but refused to leave the country, resulting in him being in jail for 9 months. I still don't understand his loyalty, but at least he had the intelligence to understand the U.S. was not to be trusted and only ever wanted a real sovereignty for the country. I guess a lot of domestic Iranians are like that. Don't trust any diaspora Iranians that support the Pahlavis, though. No, I don't. Diplomats have sought guarantees from Lebanese armed group Hezbollah that it would not take military action if the United States or Israel carried out an attack on Iran. A Lebanese source familiar with the group's thinking told Reuters on Wednesday. The source said that the Iran-backed group was approached through diplomatic channels last week. Hezbollah did not offer explicit guarantees, but has no plans to act if the strike on Iran is not existential for Iran's leadership, the source added. Anyway, so my point is, I want, and I keep repeating this over and over again, and I know that people will not understand this because they can only approach the situation through black and white thinking. I don't want American bombs. I don't want American sanctions. I want the Iranian population to be able to if they are slated to do a revolution, it will never not be impacted by Western forces. It's going to happen, but ultimately, the best path forward to maintain Iranian sovereignty is going to happen if there is an organized like next step forward government that they already have, because everything beyond that will turn into fucking complete chaos, especially considering that there are also the defenders of the Ayatollah. There's a fairly sizable population, like those pro-government protests. People say, oh, there's fucking people from Pakistan, people from Afghanistan are bust in for those protests. Like, no, there are real fucking people who love the Islamic Republic. Like, you have to deal with those people. You got the IRGC. Like, whether we like it or not, the disagreements in terms of domestic affairs, whether we have our own understandable disagreements with how the domestic affairs of Iran must be conducted, those people are in the tens of millions, and they got fucking guns. They have a military. They have the IRGC. They have these security forces. What do you think happens in that situation? What do you think happens when the state collapses? When the state collapses, what do you think happens? Do you understand? I think that there is a separate secret reason as to why they keep saying this, by the way, because Channel 14 reported that foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. Everyone is free to guess who is behind it. Now, this is like a fucking, close to Benjamin Netanyahu, a right-wing channel in Israel saying this out loud. You won't see a lot of people covering this in American news, of course, because they don't want to act like there's any interference whatsoever from Israel. But Israel wants to make it seem like they are directly interfering. Mike Pompeo has said Mossad is out there on the streets, right? So why are they doing that? Because under different circumstances, they don't take credit for it until after the fact, right? They don't say that they're doing it in the process. And the reason why I think they're doing it is because they want to goad the Iranian government, the Iranian regime, to be as militant and as violent as possible against otherwise normal-ass protesters who aren't fucking Mossad, okay, who aren't getting armed by Mossad. And when that happens, then you have, for every person that you kill, you have 10 to 100 other people that will also take up arms and seek out revenge, okay? That's it. That's what I think. Do they have outside agitators? Of course they do, but they don't have as much. I don't think they are as powerful as the way that they're claiming they are in this circumstance. Like, that is the reason why I think it's like Mossad spurs Iran protest, says Asians with demonstrators in a Farsi message. This only benefits, this only gives just cause to the Iranian government to do whatever the fuck they want to do, to slay as many people as they want to. This creates more violence. It gives them just cause to engage in violent action, because now it's like outside agitators. See, they're fucking openly admitting it. I think the reason why they're greatly overemphasizing their involvement in these protests is because they want the regime to eat the bait and start fucking slaughtering people, as they did, okay? And they did do that. It's a way to cause more chaos. And it's a way to cause, to create even a larger force of people that will throw their bodies on the line. Okay? Remember the clip culture we watched yesterday? A perfect example here. What is this? 2,000 to 5,000 dead protests. Anybody else find poetry in that? Breaking. Hassan Parker says the thousands of Iranis murdered by Islamic Republic is poetry. I didn't say that at all. That's fucking insane. What the fuck is happening? It's an 18-second clip. It's so stupid. Like, you like Khomeini tweet when he's responsible for killing so many people? Listen, sometimes you can find poetry in the strangest places. Yeah, Persian. I am Persian. Like, this is not even from, this is before. Yeah, it's just he's lying. This is before the actual fucking protests were violently squashed, by the way. I don't stream 18 seconds at a time. You're not gonna beat the allegations. Beat the allegations of what? Suck my fucking dick. Yeah, dude. I'm a paid propagandist for the fucking Islamic Republic. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Whatever. There are people who are adults who are capable of understanding fucking nuance, and then there are people who just want to simply yell and act as though they are winning some fucking internet argument or something. None of what we say ultimately matters, unfortunately. I think Pompeo tweeting about Mossad is projecting force and inevitability beyond what you really have. Other accounts of this I have seen are just brain dead sorry. Do people really think the former head of the CIA just casually outed a bunch of assets on X on the Everything app to gloat the shitpost? Be serious? So you're telling me Pompeo didn't tweet out actionable intelligence days before the protests expanded? Beats me. I always thought if you have secret agents embedded in a protest movement, you should tweet about it ahead of time. I mean, he's being sarcastic. But like, I do think it's interesting that they are doing that. I do think it's interesting that America and Israel are doing that, okay? Like the Jerusalem Post article that came out being like, oh yeah, we have all of our assets on the streets. They have been unlocked, okay? I respected you a lot more when you stopped running ads. People should be able to see you aren't this paid propagandist. Exactly. I don't run ads. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. You might sometimes disagree with what I'm saying. You might agree with what I'm saying. History oftentimes does vindicate me. But at the end of the day, it is your subscriptions. It is your subscriptions that sponsor the show. What is this? Here's a clip from yesterday when you're talking about how Iran is very cruel for killing protesters. 2,000 is enough for it to be insane. Why do these people always have to make it even higher? Well, it's the same as like October 7. You could have just looked at October 7 and been like, this is a fucking catastrophe. How do we get here? But it didn't matter. They had to be like, they're decapitating babies while raping them, you know? It's just, it doesn't, like, the truth is not enough. They have to literally, they have to do atrocity propaganda. Israel kills hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. That's nothing. That's just, you know, the cost of doing business. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that, right? Iran, on the other hand, they've killed 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Is not actually Vanilla Mace. I have like random fucking people that put me in their stupid fucking group chats on Instagram. And for some weird reason, even though it doesn't show up on my actual Instagram DMs, when I turn on Instagram desktop, it shows random fucking Stan accounts and the conversations that they're having. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just, Instagram is busted. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to Trump for a second. I gotta go.
They were shooting at them with guns and they were shooting back. And, you know, it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions. And so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
Well, we're going to watch and see what the process is, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that still considering military action? Is that still a threat?
No executions. Everybody's talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing. Yes, ma'am.
The foreign minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, you know, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in, and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything about it.
There's no more than what they can do than
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. You know, I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman and 40 years before President Truman, they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject. Probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot
Trump
subject.
sounded satisfied. No executions, possibly no military action, or is this a ruse? With Trump, you never know. With Trump, you never know, because he does end up, leaning in a certain direction as a way to misdirect, as to get people to focus on something else. But
happened and why Planned Parenthood is receiving any.
There is one thing. There is one thing that you can always count on, though. He will suck Israel's dick. So if they're not bombing Iran right now, it's probably because Israeli intelligence is saying don't bomb Iran yet. And I assume the only reason why they wouldn't bomb Iran is for the same reasons that I mentioned. Why are the phones down, newsboy? What do you mean? Oh, you mean the Verizon? I don't know. He will always suck Israel's cock on whatever the fuck is related to the region. And I suspect that the reason why Israel wouldn't want Iran to be bombed yet is because they think it will harden. It will harden the support for the regime, because Iranians fucking hate, obviously, being bombed. Iranians don't like being bombed. No one likes being bombed, Iranians are a magical, mystical people, very stubborn, very proud people who hate getting blown up. Because right now, as it stands, there's already so much discontent, so much anger. This is not the end of the protests, okay? It's stopped for now. But people will understandably vow revenge. They will seek out revenge. There will be more organizing. There will be more anger. There will be more resentment. That's why I keep saying something's got to give. Okay? That's it. Yeah. Why don't the Iranians realize that if they stopped resisting and complied, that things would get better? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand, right? Just like ICE. Just like ICE in America. Why don't they just stop resisting? Oh, I forgot. Everyone that's saying that in America is saying the opposite in Iran. I forgot. Right wingers with their consistent position here. They're truly in favor of a free Iran. Except, ironically enough, that when they talk about like religious oppression or religious repression that the Ayatollahs are committed to, they want to do that in America, but Christian style. Actually, probably even worse. They don't want women to fucking read. They don't even want women to go to school. They want it fucking Taliban style, not Ayatollah style. But, in the Christian way. Yeah, this is, ma'am, your government just shot a woman in the face. Smoke them if you got them. America does love a good, America does love when their foreign adversaries engage in like horrible shit, though, because then they can just for once posture as though they're the good guys. You know what I mean? This is what happened in Ukraine. Like, the reason why I think so many liberals and so many Republicans like leaned into the Ukraine stuff early on, like aggressively, it was not because they care about like the righteous emancipation of Ukrainians from Russian invaders or whatever. It was because like it ultimately gave them an opportunity to fucking be like, oh yeah, we're morally superior for once. That was what it is. And it's the same with like Iran too. They just like hold on to this idea that like, there are worse governments out there. See, we're not as bad. WAPO is reporting that Iran and Israel spoke via Russia, guaranteeing that they would not strike each other. What do you make of this? I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like everything that we see, all the bits and pieces of information that comes out of this situation is going to be beneficial for somebody who I do not know. But anyway, can please one of the Hasanabi industrial complex clippers post what he said this morning about Greenland? I missed it and not sub to rewind. Well, Audrey, you got to subscribe. So you got a subscription. So now you can rewind. And all of you can rewind as well if you subscribe to the Parker Broadcasting Service. TV News political editor Robert Peston. There's a signal tonight that the British government, that unspecified U.S. Trump action against Iran is imminent. I don't understand. Maybe it's a fucking debate. Maybe Trump is saying we're not going to do it. But that's just like a bait and switch. I wouldn't put it past him. He's done it many, many times over. So who knows? I will say this, though. I could see I could see Israel and Iran secretly reassuring one another that they're not going to strike each other, because I don't think Israel is as defensive as you think Israel is. Like, I think Iran in the 12-day war, a lot of people actually covered that as like total Israel annihilation. Iranian forces were destroyed. They were embarrassed, all this stuff, right? And there is some truth to how ridiculous the opening salvo was, right? Because Israel had penetrated the Iranian government so deeply that they were able to like destroy anti-aircraft weapons immediately before they started bombing campaigns, right? Having said that, if you think that Israel is not being more restrained because they don't want to get fucking pummeled again like they did last time, you would be wrong. Okay? Now, on the one hand, they are America is pulling its Air Force troops out of the Qatar base. So maybe Qatar gets hit again. I don't know, as like a reasonable solution, like a middle ground solution here. No Israel getting striked. Iran gets hit one time, precise targeted strike on, key regime guys or something. And then Iran turns around and like strikes Qatar again, right? Something along those lines. I don't know. But remember, this is important. Stockpiles of interceptors are still severely depleted since the war 6 months ago. Triggering a wide response from Iran risks unnecessarily depleting the stockpile even further. With the lack of any major naval assets, they won't have VLS-launched SM interceptors available either. That's why I said if you don't have American carriers in the region, even though there were American carriers in the region, they still could not sufficiently defend Israel, and their stockpiles were depleted. Last time Iran was fucking pummeling Israel, there is 0% chance, like either they get assurances from Iran that they're not going to, either they got assurances from Iran that Iran is not going to strike Israel again and punish Israel again, or they're going to strike and be insane about it. Who knows? They need a lot more assets to be in the region, many of which moved to Venezuela, off the coastline of Venezuela right now. So it's not even about like taking out Iranian capabilities. It's more so about defending Israel. From what I've seen, there are still no indications of a buildup for CENTCOM. Diego Garcia is empty, and Alidade only has a few C-17s visible on satellite imagery. I still think a limited strike is possible, but nothing major like a decapitation. Current assessments by Israeli media is that Israel, does not anticipate being attacked by Iran regardless of what happens, which may also offer a clue. Ynet claims that the occupation army is more concerned with Ansar Allah at the moment. Stockpiles of interceptors are still severely depleted since the war 6 months ago, triggering a wide response from Iran, risks unnecessarily depleting the stockpile even further. The evacuation of Al Udeid that people are talking about is actually just a posture change. A forced evacuation was what happened before the Midnight Hammer retaliation. That's not happening yet. New York Times confirmed a few minutes ago that there are still only 3 missile-firing destroyers in the Middle East region. Maariv is now falsely attributing a claim to New York Times that a carrier is making its way to the Red Sea. They seem to be confusing the USS Roosevelt destroyer with the USS Theodore Roosevelt carrier. I have a feeling Americans will use submarines. America did use submarines when they were striking Israel, but on a defensive posture, you need carriers because you need missile launchers that are intercepting. You need carriers that have missile launchers that will fire off missiles that will intercept long-range ballistic missiles that Iran is lobbing in Israel's direction. The Iron Dome, in and of itself, without American intervention, without American support, without American defenses, is clearly incapable of stopping Iran from being able to strike Tel Aviv. We saw that, okay? It's not carriers, it's cruisers and destroyers. Sorry, not carriers, you're right. Oh, U.S. striking Israel? Sorry, I meant submarines were utilized when striking Iran. American submarines were utilized when they hit Iran, but submarines don't have the same defensive capabilities as all of these different assets do. Whether it be carriers or cruisers, like all these different naval assets that America has at its disposal that have missile launching capabilities that work to intercept Iranian ballistic missiles that are flying in the direction of Tel Aviv. Yes, I know it's not just the Iron Dome, it's the Aero systems as well. When I say Iron Dome, I'm using it colloquially. I'm talking about all of the different defensive capabilities that Israel has. I'm using it as a broader umbrella term. I don't mean just the Iron Dome, which is Tamir interceptors that are good for like drones and shit. I'm talking about the the Arrow system 2, like Arrow 3. There are probably enough air assets to do DCA ops over Iraq, Jordan, etc. Yes, but you're talking about striking Iranian strikers before they actually lob missiles in Israel's direction. That's very different because there's no guarantee. As we saw last time, Israel can fly over Iraq, Israel can fly over Syria, Israel can fly and get refueled in the process and go strike Iran. But clearly when they did that last time around, Iran was still capable of lobbing fucking even hypersonics that actually struck Tel Aviv. Do you see what I mean? So although Israel's modus operandi has always been the best defense is a good offense, clearly a good offense was not enough to stop Iran from being able to strike Tel Aviv. No, I'm talking about shooting down missiles with fighters, DCA, defensive counter air. Even then, it didn't work, is what I'm saying. Bro, please learn the definition of a hypersonic. Saying this is a missile sexual. Okay, I'm sorry. Fast ones that go boom, boom. But fast enough to penetrate through the ballistic defense capabilities that they have. There was a now deleted post on True on Reddit that the lack of missile interceptor stocks was the reason for Trump's Raytheon tweets. I don't know about all that, but anyway, so this is where we're at with Iran, Israel, and the United States of America. So when Trump says like, oh, Iran gave me assurances that they're not actually going to kill any more protesters, that the deaths are done for now, that might just be a lie, right? And I don't mean that might be a lie that like Iran might continue killing protesters or whatever. I mean like, that might be a way for Trump to say, oh, we're not going to do anything to Iran. Just kidding, because he's done this before. So who knows? Would China or Russia come to Iran's aid this time? Most likely not. Russia is still stretched thin and not likely to do anything outside of Eastern Europe. China is hesitant to get involved in anything that will mess up their access to international markets. Yeah, this to a certain degree is Iran's fault as well, because Iran's foreign policy posture has always been, I think, too invested in sovereignty for their own personal benefits. Because the Iran-Chinese relationship has never been as comprehensive as like the Iranian-Russian relationship has been. So, this is China. China is always incredibly fucking restrained. And who knows if China repeatedly offered to sell Iran weapons previously, but Iran always refused. Yeah, Iran low-key has been kind of weird about working with China. It was, if anything, like normally I would say China is too restrained and China is kind of shitty for that reason, or maybe it's actually the smart posture from China to only trade max or whatever. But the reality of the matter is, Iran has also refused to have more Chinese involvement on Iranian soil. They have been stupid to not get Chinese weapons. Well, so people will say, like this chatter, the Iranian arms industry is insanely self-sufficient, but it has also meant that they don't have the latest tech and air defenses, for example. The reason for why Iran has refused Chinese weapons is not because they're self-sufficient. The reason why they refuse it is because Chinese weapons come with more Chinese contracts, which come with more reliance on China, and Iran wants to maintain its sovereignty. But yeah, here is Lawrence Norman from Wall Street Journal. Utter confusion, uncertainty about what's going on now with Iran among various senior diplomats. After Trump's statements about how Iran promised me that they're done with the executions, now everyone is confused. I don't blame Iran for not trusting China. China folds anytime U.S. attacks a country where they have investments in. No. You are too harsh on Iran. We literally have admitted evidence that Israel is supplying protesters in Iran. There have been explosions or shootings from the protesters. Can you imagine what America would be doing to protesters if China was supplying bombs, weapons, and fueling violent anti-Trump protests on American soil? Yes, I know, but I would also just as fucking readily criticize the American government for its brutality as I am the Iranian government, okay? I'm going to be fair in this situation while still being cognizant of the external factors at play here, okay? if I was a leader that wanted to remain sovereign and existed outside of the U.S. security apparatus, I would 100% leverage my relationship with China. 100%. It's a matter of survival. I would obviously try to get nukes as fast as possible. I mean, China has the most fucking... I mean, not China, sorry. Iran has maximum engineering. Like, you don't got one guy that knows how to fucking enrich uranium? Like, what are we doing? You don't got... And then beyond enriching uranium, then you have the intercontinental ballistic missile, like, strike capabilities that you need to develop as well. That's a whole nother ordeal. But you got engineers out the ass. You got so many fucking engineers. I know Israel keeps killing them, but like, you got so many engineers, man. It's the engineer country, okay? It's the bricklaying country and it's the engineering country. People, what are you talking about? Everyone knows someone who's been killed by this regime. Why do you believe this regime's propaganda? I don't know what you're referencing here. But if you think Trump believes what Iran is saying, I don't think he is. I think he's posturing to... I mean, there's a couple different options here, right? Okay, look, there's a couple different options here. I think Cena had a decent take on it. Where is it? Where the fuck is it? Hold on. You know, I'm doing my listening to Iranian voices thing here. Okay, where is it? Or no, it wasn't Cena. It was Trita Parsi. Okay, Trita Parsi says much indicates now that a U.S.-Israeli war with Iran is imminent. I see three scenarios. One, a limited strike, mainly symbolic, so that Trump can claim victory and then move on the talks. No, I was thinking of Cena Tusi, but I mixed it up. Okay, it's Trita Parsi, not John Cena, chatters. Shut the fuck up. 2, regime decapitation by attacking most, but not all, political and IRGC leaders, but with the aim of having someone else from within the system take over afterwards in order to avoid instability, followed by a deal manifesting Iranian capitulation. This is the Venezuela option, but I think that that's also different than Venezuela regardless. 3, a combination of two, but with massive bombardment of Iran's military capabilities afterwards to ensure that Iran is set back decades and cannot pose any challenge to Israel for the foreseeable future. Think Syria after Assad fell. Of these 3, I find option 1 very unlikely. The argument against option 2 is that the Israelis would not accept it. Netanyahu has been very silent publicly, which he probably would not have been if option 2 was the one favored by Trump. Where the fuck was it? Hold on. Where'd it go? I lost it. Did I move it around? Where the fuck is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, John Cena. I can't find it. Okay. Trita Parsi is the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute, by the way. Okay. The argument against option 2 is that Israelis would not accept it. Netanyahu's been very, very silent publicly, which he probably would not have been if option 2 was the one favored by Trump. The argument against option 3 is that it would likely require far more U.S. assets in the region, and we do not see that, at least not quite yet. Of course, plans rarely survive contact with reality. Plenty of reasons why things won't play out the way as the U.S. and Israel may have intended, including, of course, how Iran responds/retaliates. Any chance Trump is using the Iran stuff as a distraction as he's going to move on to Greenland? Well, the degree of priority here is always eating Israel's dick as hard as he possibly can. So Iran will probably be a much more consequential thing for Donald Trump because it's much more consequential for Israel. Trump is all... Look, when all else fails, remember, Trump will deep throat Israel's cock every single time. And as much as this is frustrating to hear from the Iranian diaspora chatters in here, the Iranian population and their best interests are not a consideration here when America and Israel are making these deals. So no matter how hard they try to sell this idea to you, or no matter how hard you fucking hate the Islamic Republic, and I don't put that past you at all, okay? The reality of the matter is America and Israel do not give a fuck about the Iranian population. They give a fuck about Israel. They give a fuck about Israel dominating the region for American interests and protecting American investments. And Iran is a major factor that holds the Israeli incursions back. Western leaders and mainstream media rallied behind the perfidy. Come on, man. Of course, they're not going to say that when they will strike in June, they did it while negotiations were ongoing and a lot of people believed it was going to work. No, I know. That's why I'm saying I think Donald Trump stating that, you know, the killing has stopped doesn't mean that they're actually not going to strike. Yeah, could be backing off, could be trying to dupe Iranians amid reports of potential imminent attack, though ultimately such statements are unlikely to alter realities on the ground or Iranian calculations in a meaningful way. Check logs. Like, you had Morandi spreading propaganda with little criticism. Both internet and Twitter is blocked by Iran, but how is dude on Twitter being the government mouthpiece? And yet you haven't heard and shown a single journalist from the other side showing the regime's cruelty check logs? No, I have. I have. And also, do you think this position is not sufficiently covered by both every single fucking Western media, every single Western media outlet that we've watched? I've watched probably 12 videos on Iran yesterday, and 11 out of the 12, including the one that you're talking about that had Morandi speaking, had people who were very critical and completely against the regime. Every single fucking video that we watched, with the exception of the one piece where Morandi was speaking, was anti-fucking Islamic Republic. The reason why you're mad is that there was any mention of the Islamic Republic side at all. That's the reason why you're upset. How can you say that I haven't fucking sufficiently covered, and not only sufficiently covered, but also specifically, personally fucking criticized the Islamic Republic myself? The only reason why you're mad is because there's any mention at all of the pro-regime talking point, a pro-Islamic Republic spokesperson that was mentioned at all. That's it. Yes, I know. I'm not saying you're doing selective activism, but you've been talking about the genocide for years with correct attitude that Israel's doing a genocide, but when Iran is doing somewhat the same thing, it's not the same thing. That's fucking ridiculous. You talk like a politician who cares about the stability of Iran or how they have to be a sovereign nation. You want to play fair. They're going to the hospital and arresting the wounded. I'm not subbed. I can't send links to vids. There is no amount of fucking cruelty that the Islamic Republic has not done in this process. They are doing that. Okay. They're doing it nonstop. And it's not something that I've actually hidden at all. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why a lot of people to my left on Twitter are getting mad at me and saying I'm actually, normalizing intervention or something like that. Of course, I care about the stability and sovereignty of Iran. I want Iran not to be fucking Syria. I want Iran not to be Libya. I want Iran to be Iran. And if the Iranian population is able to bring about a democratic, secular Iranian republic, then that's fucking awesome. I love that. That's what I want. I want what's best for the Iranian people. I don't want the Iranian people to be fucking repressed and have to deal with not only the economic sanctions and the impact that has, but also the unimaginable amounts of repression from the Islamic Republic. As long as America doesn't help them, America will never help them. America will never help Iran. The entire reason why the revolution took place in Iran is because of America helping Iran in 1953, okay? Shut the fuck up. America does not help its allies. America is talking about invading Greenland, and you're over here being like, well, what about a foreign adversary? You think America gives a fuck about dead Muslims, dude? What level of delusion are we on? It's not like the Trump administration is saying that they're invested in helping Iran anyway. They're talking about bombing Iran. They've been starving Iran, and now they want to fucking bomb it, and you're over here talking about America's going to help them. America doesn't even help Americans, and you're over here thinking that they give a fuck about Iranian people? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? They don't even fucking care about Americans. They care about a hand-selected pedophilic elite. That's it. And their fucking profit interests. That's the only thing America cares about. And it's the same fucking argument. Like, we got to free Gaza from Hamas. That's what Israel was saying. Like, Israel gives a shit about the Palestinians. Do you need America to fucking wipe out Tehran until you realize, okay, maybe America wasn't actually invested? Like, what are we talking about? A lot of this conversation revolves around the hidden notion that people accept. The reality that people accept that America is the hegemonic superpower. So you just have to be fucking servile little piggy to America's interests, no matter how ruthless or cruel they get. Otherwise, look at the situation in Iran. Sanctions freed Iran. Yes. Yeah. American sanctions. They liberated Iran. They liberated Iranian children from their life. That's how we are liberating Iran. Because ultimately, what's so crazy about this is that Americans, by and large, are basically stating, okay, Westerners in general are basically stating that the Iranians need to be sufficiently starved, okay? They need to be sufficiently starved so that they can get angry enough to kill the Ayatollah. And if you don't kill the Ayatollah, sorry, you're going to get starved even further. And there are people in the diaspora that are fine with this, okay? There are people in the diaspora who also will defend it. It's no different than the way that Cubans in America will say we have to bomb Havana. We have to bomb Cuba. We have to bomb Cuba to liberate Cuba. The ones that defend the sanctions in America are the Cuban Americans that say, no, sanctions on Cuba is good. The trade embargo on Cuba is good. This is how we will bring about democracy. All you're doing is advocating for a regime that you fucking despise, continuing any sort of fucking repressive, any sort of like repressive act that they will engage in, and unironically increasing the fucking cruelty as a matter of survival and as a matter of sovereignty. You're hardening the position of the base of support that these governments have, and I'm not even comparing Cuba to Iran right now, okay? But all you're doing in that situation is just like starving people further. It blows my fucking mind. I don't understand it. Where'd you get the bear fur mat? Kaya. It's a movable one. It's a new type of rug that moves. Kaya. Kaya. Place. Zzz. Yeah, it's an AI rug. What are you looking at, huh? What are you looking at? Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah. Also, Unk caught a stray here as well. Just now, ex-Canadian Parliament member threatens to hunt opposition. Goldi Gamari to Cenk Uyghur in Farsi then English. Don't worry, when the regime is over, we will come after you. Bro, these guys think they are Israel, by the way. That's one of the funniest things I've seen is like, there are some of these people who like think they're literally Israel. Like, you're not Israel, little bro.
Can I ask Rob a question?
Don't talk over each other.
Yeah, Israeli puppet.
Don't talk over each other, please.
Okay, hey, Rob, when you do enough military...
Yeah, she goes, when the regime is, don't worry, when the regime is over, we will come after you. Cenk is now being targeted by both the Shah writers and Mossad. Fucking awesome. I don't know why Cuck Todd is there, by the way. That's a crazy addition. If one person commits high treason and espionage, calling on adversaries to attack America, they would face capital punishment under U.S. law, and all Americans are okay with it. Why the hypocrisy? Come on, you know why. Unk is in the trenches, getting death threats from Stephen Miller, getting death threats from the son of Hamas, who is a Mossad asset, getting death threats from the Iranian Shah writers too. It's awesome. He's just catching it on every end here. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, we got the diplomatic guarantees. Kaysan says, I'm Iranian. My parents were born and raised in Iran. Had to leave when the Shah was overthrown. The revolution happened. Was currently happening and has been happening in Iran for years and years. Absolutely heartbreaking. Women were being killed for not covering up, but you didn't hear about the government murdering anyone who didn't agree with their dictator actions and laws given at any moment. You didn't hear about it. You see, this is what most people don't understand. This isn't about religion. This isn't about what side you choose to be on. This is about a freedom from a country who wants to be free from a tyrant regime, a country who's currently standing up to this tyrant regime and has their entire internet and any communication cut out completely. Now imagine if this happened in America. What would you think or say? Those who are standing up are dying. Young, innocent adults who are standing up for what's right. The citizens of Iran are amazing people. Some of the most kind, big-hearted, selfless people you will ever meet in your life. Please, and I mean please, do not take this message to think about this is something else. This isn't about another country. This isn't about another religion. This is simply freedom and standing up for what is right. I pray for the people of Iran. I pray for my family. I pray for those peace in the entire world. Love you. Okay? Verizon is having nationwide outage. Yeah, that's not the same as like the government fucking cutting off all internet. Okay. Before everybody yells at Kaysan or any number of different people, okay, you have to understand. There are literally plenty of people that have actively that have been called the regime enjoyers on Twitter. People that I know, okay, for their position against Israel, who are Muslim, who are Shia, who come from that background, who also have similar attitudes to Kaysan, okay? And the reason for, and they're much, they're very well-read people, they're organizers, they're activists. One must ask the question, why? Are they all Mossad operatives out of nowhere? No, of course not. The reason for why, and I guess like I have it's not to the same degree, but I do as a person who grew up in Turkey, I have a unique perspective on this as opposed to like, I don't know, dumbass Americans, where I do understand why young people especially would want liberalism. Okay? Like young people in a place like Iran would want to be rid of a lot of the repressive forces within the government. And my statement here is, in order for Iran to maintain its sovereignty, that repression needs to go away. Okay, bro, you're in a marabou. Please stop. I know, but I contain multitudes. It's hard for some people to understand America isn't the only negative force in the world. Listen. The reason why a lot of people get very sensitive about this kind of statement is because a lot of anarchists and a lot of fucking pro-regime change people or pro-Western intervention people will use that as a talking point. Will use that as a talking point in a very unnuanced manner to justify American or Israeli intervention. I'm not doing that at all. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply stating that if there are, as I've described, 3 different points of pressure, the number 1 point of pressure being the economic sanctions, which is Western intervention. The number 2 point of pressure is like the leaky faucet that is an angry Iranian population that is more and more willing and able and interested in working with Israeli intelligence or American intelligence. And then the 3rd point of pressure is the actual repression committed by the government. There's only one thing you can actually control. If you are the Islamic Republic, there's one thing you can actually fucking control. So if you truly have any sort of nationalistic sentiment in your heart, okay, if you truly want to maintain sovereignty, okay, what is this? What's the difference? Lamau, anarchist, fuck off. Okay, calm down. Calm down. My point is, the only thing that is in control of the regime in this circumstance is to abide by the demands being made by a lot of these people. You can either say, oh, they're all fucking ridiculous. They're all Mossad, which is what the government is currently doing. The Iranian regime is saying, oh, they're all Mossad. They're all CIA. And there is evidence that some of them are actually at least getting armed by Mossad or the CIA. Having said that, there is a fuck ton of people in Iran that are understandably frustrated, that are capable of taking up arms. These are not Israelis that are fucking killing security forces. These are Iranians that are killing the Iranian security forces. Okay? And Israel does not have a hypnosis beam, or CIA does not have the capabilities of like hypnotizing Iranians into taking up arms against their own government. They can only take advantage of the instability. And the instability that is oftentimes born out of the economic pressures that they've subjected the Iranian government to. Having said that, there is a very real reason for why people are understandably fucking pissed off. It's a tad more nuanced than that because, yes, even in Sudan's revolution in 2019, we wanted liberalism, or rather secular civilian-led government. Most people very much understood that it'll always be strictly Sudanese civilian-led government with no external influence whatsoever. That's why we now hate the civilian prime minister during the transitional period who sold out. There would be no talk about repression if there were no sanctions. How often do you hear about the Saudi repression when their government is even more repressive? Yes, but it doesn't matter because the sanctions already exist. Okay? That's it. It's that simple. And you can't change that. So you have to work within the confines of you have to work within the confines of reality. Okay? You can't just close your eyes. If you're a government that wants to maintain sovereignty, you can't work with what you wish was happening in the world. Okay? You have to work with what is happening to you. It's that simple. Like, their economy is still going to suck even if they had social liberalism. Their economy is still going to be in the shitter even if they have social liberalism, at which point you have to make different foreign policy decisions. Lean into China, for example, okay? But that comes after you actually maintain stability in the country, a country that is actually on fire, a country that is on fire for good reason. Beyond the external pressures, there is a valid fucking reason for why a lot of the Iranian youth would be fucking, are understandably angry. You are such a lib on this? No, I'm not. There's a reason why Sudan is literally the best example to give here. The revolution that top hold a 30-year dictatorship was successful only when it was by the Sudanese people with no foreign intervention. We were killed in the hundreds and the internet was shut off as well. That didn't stop us. What's the solution then? They don't have enough firepower to take over the government and the regime is not going to reform. What happens when you release sanctions and they give that money to the terrorist organizations they fund? First of all, I'm going to be very real with you, okay? This argument is incredibly stupid because you're saying the government is stealing all those funds and using it on Hezbollah instead. You're coming to a person who doesn't give a shit about that regardless. But let's say I do. Let's say the Islamic Republic is taking all the funds and simply funneling it to Hezbollah and not actually using it like to stabilize their economy. Okay, release the sanctions, and they're going to continue doing that, and the people are still going to be mad because the economy is not stabilized. That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. Because if that was your real concern, if that was your real concern about sanctions, and not that if you actually stop the sanctions, then the economic pressure will actually diminish, and therefore the economy of Iran will stabilize to a certain degree, and then the Islamic Republic will not be overthrown violently and militarily by the population, who will at least have some breathing room, right? The real reason why you're saying that is because you want the sanctions to continue, because you want to punish the Iranian population for not successfully overthrowing the Ayatollah. Okay? Because you don't think that the Iranian population has any smoke for the Ayatollah at all, or the Islamic Republic at all, beyond the economic problems. This is the other side of the way that leftists, ultra leftists, or campus to a certain degree operate, where they're like, no, if there were no fucking economic sanctions whatsoever, then everyone would be happy. What is this? I believe Iranians are past the discussions of sanctions. If you disagree, then you can shut up, especially if you are a Turk. Well, good thing Hassan Piker is not talking to Iranis. He's talking to Americans about what America can do, unless you want the sanctions to stay. They do. They do want the sanctions to stay. And the only reason you are lib about this, to be honest, people in the region experienced the same hope for liberalism and secular democracy during the Arab Spring, and we fell for it, including me. Instead of all of our governments got replaced with even worse collaborators, the Middle East doesn't have space for that bullshit, and the youth in Iran are idiots if they think so, just like how me and all people like me were idiots at the time. I guess I have more belief that the Iranian population are more resilient in general to this kind of outside pressure. That's it. Because the Islamic Republic is also incompetent in some ways as well. I mean, I don't know how I would operate in a similar situation. I mean, there's so many fucking external pressures here. But they have also very clearly had issues with their domestic attitudes, with their domestic repression, and also their inability to maintain stability by looking for other trade partners, for example, or deepening their relationships with other trade partners that are growing around the globe. Okay? What I'm simply saying in the most basic ways, and people will get mad at me for saying this, especially Western leftists will get mad at me for saying this, but you can't have an unimaginably educated population with access to the fucking internet and then force them into doing dumb shit. I'm sorry, okay? You can call me a fucking Islamophobe if you want to, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't have an incredibly educated population with access to the fucking internet and then assume that they're not going to sit there and be like, well, okay, I want freedoms. Like, I want fucking civil liberties. What are we doing? That's it. It's not going to work. It literally is that basic. Now, is that the major factor here? No, but it's very clearly a major point of pressure. Okay? America, brother, we have unlimited treats in the United States of America, and you just said the Americans are well educated. Are you out of your fucking mind? Have you met the average American? Yes. That's such a brain dead take. I don't even know what to say. You're preemptively defensive while saying it's because it's stupid supremacist thought. Yes, you're right. You're right. What do I always say? Yes, I'm doing supremacist thought, but this time it's not even American supremacist. It's actually Turkish supremacist thought. Anyway, what do you mean they would want freedom if they have internet? Like I'm saying, they have access to the rest of the fucking world. They want social liberties. It's totally understandable. It's totally understandable to want social liberties. Now, either you say no, if they let go of some of these like traditions and some of these mechanisms of oppression, then the base will fall out. Okay, and therefore they can't maintain their sovereignty. I believe that's the reason why the Islamic Republic behaves this way, not because they love the Quran and love Shia Islam ultimately, because actors like people who control entire governments have to first and foremost care about maintaining sovereignty. Okay, and the connective tissue here that legitimizes the Islamic Republic in the eyes of the base of support is their supposed incorruptibility. And the only way that you showcase incorruptibility in that part of the world is by maintaining an anti-Western attitude. And the way you maintain this incorruptible Western attitude, anti-Western attitude, is by showing your Islamic bona fides. Okay? That's it. Freedoms don't work in the Middle East. That's just the reality of things. No, that's not true, dude. What the fuck? That's a crazy, crazy supremacist. That is unironically supremacist. Freedoms just don't work in the Middle East. That's just the reality of things. It's crazy. Like, come on, dude. I get your point, but the youth are dumb and too hopeful when the hope doesn't exist where we are from. What do you think about the Shia-led government? Is it not similar to Syria? That's exactly what led to injustice. Syria is an even better fucking example of this because they weren't... Syria, the Syrian government was woke. Bitch, I'm Iraqi. I know. Who can still be fucking racist to Arabs, dude? This is the type of shit that I would hear from like a Turkish supremacist. You know what I mean? Aren't you Kurdish? You feel the same way about the Kurds in the region too? Syria is an even better example of this because Syria was woke by the Islamic repression standards, but they still had a fuck ton of repression. They still had torture. They still had fucking the military being used against the population. Look how that fucking turned out. A lot of that was still very much fomented by the United States of America. Barzanis and Talibanis take shit ton of money from the Americans to rule us. Anyway, why are these states so repressive? Why don't they just become more liberal? What do you mean? For them, okay. The other side of the story is the reason why they're repressive is because they are trying to maintain stability as Western forces are fomenting instability. And the more they're under attack by these powerful Western forces, the more they fucking harden their stances. Some countries are able to get away with it in different periods of time, and other countries are not. The ones who are not able to get away with it are the ones that suffer and the ones that turn into fail states. And the reason why I say this is, I mean, I'll give you an American example, right? Like the United States of America has talked about, maintaining the First Amendment. And yet during the Cold War, the First Amendment was out the fucking door, okay? During World War I and World War II, the First Amendment was out of the door. The moment that you talked about how we shouldn't go to war, like Eugene Debs famously did when he did not want America to intervene in World War I, as was the international Marxist position here, he was thrown in fucking prison, right? That's what happened. The Espionage Act was created to find treasonous people that were that would be assassinated, that would be executed by the state if they were actually working with America's enemies during times of war. So the reality of the matter is America itself, if America, the most powerful country on the planet, itself has taken such stringent repressive action at times during times of war, then what leads you to believe, why are people saying D? What leads you to believe that like other countries that are constantly under the thumb of American empire are not going to do that? Of course they are. Of course they're going to do it. I mean, we fucking interned Japanese people in this country, man. During World War II, we just like put them in concentration camps. Like, what the fuck do you think that was? I mean, that was transparently racist for the record. But like, what do you think America was doing during World War II? They put every Japanese person in a fucking concentration camp, in an internment camp. Because they were like, we can't trust them. And you're over here thinking like, oh man, how repressive are these countries that are under the fucking endless barrage of misinformation and war, right? Sure, but don't you think they're also repressive because they're no longer popular? I mean, this brings me back to the other Gulf states, as I brought up yesterday. What, you think Saudi people love that they only recently were able to have women drive cars and shit? No. Why didn't they actually do anything? Why haven't they actually had the same level of protests in Saudi Arabia? Do you think the Saudi government is not as repressive as the Iranian government is? It is. The only difference is America doesn't destroy the Saudi economy. Saudi Arabia is allowed to liberalize now in an effort to whitewash all the other stuff that they're doing in the region under the watchful gaze of the United States of America. Okay? How'd that happen? That's it. Why did the Marxists not want the U.S. to join World War II? No, that's not true. Well, I think initially they were non-interventionists, but most Marxists obviously were on board with American intervention in World War II. I said World War I. The international Marxist position in World War I was that there's no war but class war. This is all like, this is all imperial powers fighting amongst one another, divvying out their own colonial bounty. I mean, just pre-World War I is kind of when Marx had the most motion, to be honest. Yeah, it was a very different time. What, Iran did terrible things first and America sanctioned them after that, like fucking took 52 American diplomats hostage? Brother, you are out of your mind. There is nothing that Iran has done to America that America has not done a millionfold to Iran. What are we talking about, dude? Also, Saudi Arabia did 9/11. The fuck do you mean? Like, one of the craziest things, one of the easiest ways to understand how powerful American propaganda is the fact that Saudi Arabia had a hand in 9/11 happening on U.S. soil, and then we went to the region and said, everyone but Saudi Arabia is an op now, including Iran. The Axis of Evil speech famously factored Iran and North Korea into the conversation. And Iran was like, the fuck? What do you mean? We're mourning that 9/11 just happened. The guys that did 9/11 are our number one ops in the region. They're fucking Saudi-backed Salafist brigades. What the fuck? Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And Americans did not even consider that. Americans have not even, to this day, considered that. If you ask Americans, probably more Americans think Iran did 9/11 than Saudi Arabia. It's fucking crazy. And then we sit here and act like we're not the most propagandized country on the planet. It's the best propaganda because it's the most effective propaganda, because good propaganda doesn't even let you believe that you're reading propaganda. It makes you feel like you're learning the truth. That's how good propaganda works. Hassan, like now they got the Iranian government saying outside a terrorist group is killing people, not us. Like, come on, man. If anyone believes this shit, they have a potato in their brain. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't fucking real Iranian elements that are fighting back against the government with arms. Yeah, of course the government's going to say that. Every government lies. This government is lying. The Islamic Republic is lying. They're using truth. Like they're using what Israel is saying. That's why I said it's really interesting that Israel is like leaning into this shit. But they're using what Israel has said or what America has said as a justification for why they're fucking killing people. Okay? They're doing that. Average Americans just see Muslim region of the world and probably don't even understand the difference between Saudi and Iran is so easy. It's easy propaganda. Yes. Yeah. Cheney Rumsfeld admin plan to attack 7 countries: Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, and Lebanon. Anyway, so is it them being paranoid? I mean, it's also them wanting to violently suppress the protests so that the protesters think twice before ever resisting militarily against the Islamic Republic. That's the reason why they're killing people. Okay?
Look at this map of Greenland.
Oh yeah, we got Greenland. We got the Greenland stuff that we got to talk about as well. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, this has been playing nonstop in the background. I forgot. All right, but we have. I think we've sufficiently discussed Iran over and over again, and I don't know if it's going to be productive to continue talking about it. But I will give you more updates when there are more updates. But now let's get back to the other coast of American empire and its imperial endeavors. We're talking about Greenland. The IRI needs to grapple with its disdain for leftism more than its disdain for liberalism. Your theory of releasing the liberal pressure valve is marginal at best. Their goal of increasing productive forces in contradiction with their anti-communism. Yes. I mean, I agree with that too, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, Iran is not doing revolution the right way, okay? Like, the reality of the matter is I want people to be sovereign, and I don't want them to be dogs of Israel, okay? I don't want them to be dogs of America. I don't want them to be dogs of Israel. I want them to have true sovereignty and true freedom, okay? But yes, I do believe that if Iran wasn't, if the Islamic Republic was not the great commie annihilating nation They probably would have had a more successful organizational capacity inside of the country right now. All you get at best is just like voting for reformists over and over again, and then nothing changes. And then, of course, when people don't have that pressure valve that you get through the democratic process, you end up revolting. Okay? What makes you think we'll be dogs of Israel? I didn't say that. I'm saying that's the worst option. Do you agree that that's the worst option? You get the same level of repression, especially because, let's say there's these different factions, right? You got the MEK on one side, and you got the Shah on the other side, okay? Now the Shah writers are saying, oh, we will have a secular, liberal, monarchist republic or something, like the Shah will come in. Okay, what do you do with like 20 million Iranians that are like, the fuck do you mean? We already revolted against this motherfucker. We're going to kill him. Now you need troops. Now you need Western troops to protect the Shah, as they did last time. Now you need the same exact repressive state apparatus that will find people and torture them. Okay, maybe they'll offer some level of secularism, as a red meat for the base to say, look, you got, we're releasing some of the sanctions, and you're going to get some level of secularism, secularization. Isn't that wonderful? That's what you wanted. Okay, what happens when all of the other forces are like, well, I don't want that. The fuck do you mean? You just brought the Shah back. You have American troops now in Tehran that are like maintaining this regime. Fuck that. They're going to start literally murking American troops. What happens to Iran then? What happens when you have Sunni forces that come into Iran? Because now there is a power vacuum that has been established. Because I think one of the other factors that we're not even considering is Sunni militancy that has wreaked havoc in the entire fucking region. Who's Iran's number 2 op if it's not Israel? Israel's number 1 op, right? Who's number 2 op for Iran? Saudi Arabia. What happens when you have ISIS inside of Iran? Now America has to definitely put boots on the ground because now they have to fight ISIS as well. Mass instability. Do you think Iran gets saved in that process? Do you think Iran is going to look better in that process? There is no clean break here.
President Trump just said the United States needs Greenland and that anything less than total control is unacceptable. The question is, what is he willing to do about it? Given that the Prime Minister of Greenland says he does not want to be part of the United States, the people of Greenland do not want to be part of the United States, according to opinion polls. So the president just wrote that Greenland is, quote, vital for the Golden Dome that we are building, and that NATO would be far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. And then he said that anything less than that is unacceptable. Again, how?
Yeah, the Inuit are being oppressed by Denmark that is stealing their babies nonstop. We must free Greenland, obviously. That was one of my best locks. Listen, I'm not very good, as we've seen, of predicting what this unstable madman regime is doing around the world. But I did tell you how they will sell it. If you recall, that's precisely how I told you America was going to try to sell it. Now, of course, they're not doing that because Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about trying to justify why they're doing it. Okay? But a liberalized version of this propaganda would be, we are liberating Greenland from the treacherous Denmarkian, from being the treacherous Denmark colonial outpost that it's become. We are liberating Greenland the right way. Okay, with bombs, of course. Yes, we must bomb Copenhagen for freedom. My people yearn for freedom. My people in Greenland yearn for freedom.
Unacceptable. And what will he do about it? Today, Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio are set to meet with the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark, which Greenland.
This shit is so sad and cooks me because the Greenland students are literally saying, please don't make us U.S. citizens. We don't want to lose our healthcare and education like we're the boogeyman. Because we are the boogeyman. We are the boogeyman. We are the one who knocks. It's true. They literally have bountiful social democracy to the best of their ability in Europe, and that's also going away. But like they do, they have it. They have fucking social democracy over there. They don't want American-style freedoms, and they will learn. They will learn to love those American-style freedoms. A hamburger store in every corner, okay? That's right. You're going to fucking eat the burger, and you're going to like it. Fuck you.
Is apart. The White House meeting is a first between the three governments, and
no
the presence
more free
of J.D. Vance is
That's
notable. Ukrainian President
repression.
Volodymyr Zelensky can tell you that Vice President Vance has created a scene or two at high-level meetings. Our Nick Robertson is standing by in Greenland. First, though, let's go to the White House. CNN's Elena Trina is there. Elena.
Yeah, look, a very stark message, John, from the president this morning. And the timing of it, of course, very notable with this meeting that you laid out between Secretary Rubio, the vice president, and the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland. Look, just to break this down, this is an issue and something that really President Trump has wanted for many years now. It goes back actually to his first term. I'd remind you, the president then had talked a lot about wanting to annex Greenland. All of those efforts were unsuccessful, but it's gotten a renewed focus, particularly in the days since that Venezuela operation, something that has left the president feeling emboldened. Now, just to break down why the president and the people in that building behind me feel so strongly about trying to annex Greenland from Denmark, which, to be clear, Denmark has made repeatedly clear that it is not for sale, Greenland, but they want it for national security reasons. Essentially, the argument that has been made to me over and over again when I've talked about this with top officials in the administration is that, one, they want to counter Russian and Chinese aggression in the region, but they also see it as critical as part of their missile defense system. Essentially, one of the arguments that Vance has laid out publicly as well is that, you know, if a foreign adversary wanted to launch, for example, a nuclear weapon onto the continent of North America or even to Europe, Greenland and having an important presence there would be crucial to having the missile defense system trying to intercept that. And so this is something they've talked a lot about. Now, I think a key question, of course, is it's clear what the president wants here, and he's repeatedly making that clear publicly. What isn't clear...
Don't worry, we the Portuguese will defend Greenland. We may not have nukes, no weapons whatsoever, but we'll do it with wine and socialism. Dude, listen. America is coming. Okay? Listen to Greenlander voices. Where's the Greenland? Being colonized in 2026 is actually so embarrassing. No, they're welcoming us as liberators. You guys, shut the fuck up. They are welcoming us as liberators. I will not have any of this, okay? They want us. They want us bad. They want me. They want me. They want us to take control over all of the resources of Greenland. It is vital. It is vital for the Golden Dome that we're building. They want us. They want us. They want us to fucking take away their health care. They want us. Stop saying that's not the case. It's true. It's true. We will molest the shipping lanes. We will molest the money. We will molest the shipping lanes. We will molest the fucking Greenland natural resources. It's gonna happen, okay?
Take a look at this map of Greenland if you want to understand why Trump wants to take it over so badly. Trump says that it's all about national security, but that's not the full story. The US doesn't need to take over Greenland for national security at all. The US already has military installations in Greenland, and Greenland is governed by Denmark, a NATO ally. Greenland, like Venezuela, has significant oil and mineral wealth that Trump wants. Greenland has massive deposits of rare earth minerals that the United States currently has to depend on China for, resources that US tech and energy companies would love to get their hands on as they...
I don't think that's like, I think that's not the whole story. The reason why I say that is because like extracting those rare earth minerals are so difficult out of fucking Greenland. We can get it elsewhere. They're not as rare as the name would imply. The real problem is actually not the real problem is the procurement and refinement. Like it's not exactly an issue to find these rare earth minerals. It's an issue because the refinement process is expensive. It's costly. Well, it's not expensive and costly in China, but it's expensive and costly elsewhere, right? And China actually dominates the entirety of that market. They've completely monopolized it. So even from that perspective, like putting, trying to take over Greenland in its entirety just for the rare earth minerals is like not the entire story at all, I think. I would go so far as to say that like new trade routes opening as a consequence of climate change would be a more likely scenario. I actually disagree with more perfect union here. These minerals are too hard to get in the first place, but they also just aren't actually rare. Yes, they're too hard to get in Greenland, at least with the current weather conditions. They're too hard to extract from Greenland as opposed to all these other places. Straight up. You got what, like a 3-month window to get these things out of there? It's too difficult. You would have to wait multiple decades for it to be feasible, the extraction to be actually feasible there. And yes, they are not rare. They're not actually rare. Contrary to the name, rare earth minerals are not necessarily rare. The problem is processing, not extraction. The real reason is likely just projecting power in the Arctic and controlling shipping lanes and defense. That's what I think as well. I think this is America's like long-term strategy.
Seek to massively expand and profit off of artificial intelligence. And the US government thinks that Greenland likely has large oil and gas deposits off its coastline, but the government of Greenland has stopped giving out licenses for oil and gas exploration. And recently they stopped a lot of mining exploration too, due to environmental concerns. So if Greenland...
Oh, they're woke and gay. We have to dominate them. Never mind. I didn't realize they were being woke and gay about extraction. Sorry. Yeah, I'm on board now. Sorry. Yeah, you're looking extractable, Greenland. Fuck you. Yeah, imagine the data centers we can build there, you know? You don't even need to cool it. It's just a self-cooling data center. Yeah. No, they said, I didn't realize it was like that. Sorry, guys. I take it back.
In US hands, these roadblocks to US companies would disappear. Companies working in Greenland are already seeing a boost at the suggestion of US control. Critical metals and energy transition minerals stock both jumped over 25% just this week. Big tech billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are already invested in companies like Cobalt Metals, which holds mining rights in Western Greenland and secured $500 million in new funding right when Trump got back into office. And weirdly, a lot of this push to take Greenland seems to be coming from Estee Lauder heir Ronald Lauder, a longtime Trump ally and a billionaire who apparently first introduced Trump to the idea of buying Greenland at all. Lauder is, of course, quietly making investments in Greenland, like funding the Delaware-based Greenland Development Partners, a company looking to invest in hydropower projects that would power aluminum smelters in the area. Effectively, they're setting up shop for a big American push into Greenlandic minerals. Even weirder, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, and Ken Howery, the current US ambassador to Denmark, are pushing the Trump administration to take Greenland so they can create a deregulated tech freedom city in Greenland, which of course would never happen if the Danish government kept control. Maybe needless to say at this point, but none of this has anything to do with improving the lives of Americans or even the lives of Greenlanders. It's
not the Parenti post, but this is how imperialism works. It doesn't actually fucking help. It doesn't actually help the country that we are doing imperialism to, and it doesn't even help the home nation either. It's just only helping a handful, like a hand-selected few billionaire pedophiles, okay? Lizard people. That's it. Yeah, pretty cool. Excuse me, Peter Thiel's just a vampire. He's a lizard vampire.
Is how they're going to approach this. This meeting, I'm told today, between Rubio, Vance, and the foreign ministers of both countries is really to kind of be a level setting. You know, see where both sides are, see what, if any, agreements could be reached, if there's any, you know, type of cooperation that could be made. Rubio has made clear in the past that really it's the preference of the administration.
Greek here, when you give him back Constantinople says, spicy spanakopita, never. You can pry from my cold, dead hands.
To see if they could potentially buy Greenland, for example, even after, again, the Danish prime minister and the leaders of both Denmark and Greenland.
When you say stuff on stream, do you take into consideration what a group of people want you to say, or do you go your own way 100%? What do you think? Considering that I spend like 90% of the stream yelling at people after I deliver my take, do you think I actually listen to the outsiders, outside forces, or do you think I just speak my mind?
Saying it's not for sale, but seeing if they could, you know, potentially make a deal that way. I will say, though, however, President Trump has repeatedly now not left a potential military option off the table. And so that has, you know, I think that raises a lot of concerns as these leaders are coming to the White House today. So it's going to be a very important meeting, potentially the first of many conversations, but we'll really have to see where it all leads, John.
All right, Elena Trine at the White House. Elena, thank you very much. Sarah.
All right, let's go now to CNN's international diplomatic editor, Nick Robertson. He is on the ground for us in Greenland. Nick, the Prime Minister of Greenland very bluntly said he...
Oh, that's the shittiest job, dude. Oh, my God, that's so funny. You just have to go to Greenland now It's cold as fuck.
He does not want to be owned by the United States. The president of the United States saying that if they don't do it the easy way, they're going to do it the hard way. The big picture here is what's happening with the people of Greenland. What are they saying?
Yeah, they're incredibly concerned, and I think the latest language used by President Trump is going to be even more chilling. Everyone here has been telling us this meeting with the Danish and Greenlandic foreign ministers, with J.D. Vance, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio today is a big meeting. It is a big deal. It has everyone here worried. You know, when you speak to people here, it is very clear. No one wants to be part of the United States. Perhaps there are divisions on the independent side of how quickly the country should move to independence, which is a sort of an overwhelming view. But the Prime Minister has made, as you said, made very, very clear, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland, therefore, is part of the EU and part of NATO. And that's where they look for support, and that's where they look for their strength. But having spoken to a good number of people here, it's a huge concern because they don't have an army here. They don't have the ability to fight back against the United States. And there's a very real concern, even within government, that the president could make good on what he's saying and that Greenlanders could wake up one day soon and find out they're American. I spoke to one businesswoman here, and this is what she said to me.
Get nukes. Simply the name nuke is not enough. You couldn't fool the Americans. Aha, Greenland, you thought you were slick. You said, oh, let's name the fucking major city Nuke. And then Americans will think we have a nuke. No, you have to start enriching uranium right now. You have to start enriching uranium yesterday. You have to start developing an intercontinental ballistic missile that is capable of striking the American heartland. You have to do that yesterday, not tomorrow, yesterday. Greenland, you must develop nukes instantly. Simply calling your major city Nuke is not enough. It probably fooled Americans because we're very stupid for at least a little bit of time, but it wasn't enough. You got to actually get a nuke. Put a nuke inside of Nuke now. Okay, rule number 1. Unless you want Greenland to turn into a pedophile island akin to Little St. James for all of our psychopathic tech billionaires to come in and do whatever the fuck they want to, like a libertarian anarcho-capitalist paradise, you must develop nukes now.
If you don't know which country you're living in a month, then, you know.
Is that real for you right now?
No, I don't want it to be real. I really try to push that thought down. But that is the worst case scenario that, you know, in a month I'm American. We don't even have military.
It's so funny to be like, this is a terrifying prospect. Please don't make us American. Haven't we suffered enough? We've already been Danish. We've already been considered Danish for the longest time. And now you want to make us American. I don't want to be American. It's brutal. It's the worst fate of it all, of all time, okay?
Because we don't do war. So of course, you know, there would be, I don't know, you know, we wouldn't be able to resist the American military. No one can resist the American military.
So the big question here for people is, how does the meeting go today?
Oh, she doesn't know. You won't be an American, sweetie. You won't be able to vote and won't get any of the benefits, but you will be American. Yeah, Puerto Rican style. Yeah, that's probably what will take place. Like, you'll have freedom of movement, I assume, because they're white, right? So like, or white enough. So they'll have like some kind of freedom of movement, but they won't actually be able to vote for the president or whatever unless they move to the mainland.
It seems that both sides are in a very clear position, poles apart. Everyone here knows that J.D. Vance has been to Greenland before. It is a very big thing on his personal as well as political agenda. The Greenlandic Danish side are not for backing down. That's very clear. So the question people have here is, well, how far will the EU, how far will NATO go to support us? And I think it's fair to say at the moment that the major military northern NATO members are squarely behind Denmark, Greenland. There's a question mark perhaps over some of the others.
Yeah, a lot of people wondering how this is going to...
Greenland is about 90% Inuit, but many of them look kind of white. Yeah. Inuit equals terrorist. That's the next excuse.
And what that might...
Well, they do have MS-13 style tattoos too, so you already got that on deck. You know what I mean? The Inuit separatist movement must be squashed. Okay? It must be destroyed militarily. They do not understand that we're there as liberators. Okay? They're going to welcome us as liberators. They don't get it. They don't understand that we're actually there to democratize Greenland. Okay? Yeah. They already got hand tats and face tats. It's already scary. Trend at Arctica.
Look like. Nick Robertson, thank you so much.
Joining me right now is a member of Greenland's parliament, Juno Berthelsen. Thank you so much for coming back on. Juno, how do you respond to
they
what
got
we
parliament members with face tats, dude. Americans are already on board. Like they're just the craziest thing is like the American government isn't even trying to make these arguments. Okay, they're not. Like the Bush administration, if they were to do something like this, or Obama, if they were to do something like this, right? Like they would at least like try to present an argument. They would try to manufacture consent. They'd be like, oh, they have, you know, Greenland has the weapons of mass destruction or whatever. Like, what, you know, they've been colonized by Denmark for far too long. We must liberate them. All this stuff. Nope. Not even entertaining it. Okay. Not even entertaining any of that. They're just like, it's mine. I want it. Fuck you.
now just hear the latest from the president? And what do you think it means for the Greenland and Danish leaders who are what they're walking into now in this White House meeting?
That isn't a tattoo.
Good morning, Kate. Thank you for having me on.
I'm a dumb American hog. What do you mean that isn't a tattoo? It looks like a tattoo to me, brother. This is MS-14.
Joe, first of all. Well, we think that it's very positive that Greenland's Minister for Foreign Affairs represents the Greenlandic people at the meeting. And of course, positive with the diplomatic dialogue being initiated, which Nederlag, our party, has advocated for a long time. And it's important to say that Greenland is and wants to be a part of the Western Alliance and continue to be an ally of the U.S. as well as an ally of NATO and Denmark. We are through through Greenland being a part of the currently a part of the Danish kingdom is in NATO. And Greenland has been an ally of the U.S. since the Second World War. We're allies now, and we will stay allies in the future. So that will be the most important things that we would hope would be communicated at the meeting, and that there will be understanding between Greenland and the U.S.
But hearing the president of the United States set the tone going in, and the vice president, as we know, from experience, does not really differ from President Trump in his views, especially in policy. When the president of the United States says anything less than Greenland being in the hands of the United States is unacceptable, I mean, you may see this meeting as progress, but what do you see do you see that as a new threat from the president of the United States?
Well, we just want to make sure that these diplomatic lines are being used and that they're initiated now. What is being said to the media, and I've done a lot of interviews with media from all around the world, saying that Trump has his own style and has a way of creating headlines and saying these things that kind of create outrage. But I think it's important to remember that both Republicans and Democrats are not in support of having this aggressive rhetoric and the advances that we've seen from Trump and some of his high positioned people in his administration. We have to remember that a lot of Republicans, which are creating the background for Trump to be in the position that he is, they do want to seek diplomatic solutions. They don't want to hear any talks about invasion of Greenland and destroying the NATO that we see today, and creating any more tension between the United States and Denmark and the rest of the world, especially countries from NATO. So the most important thing for me to say is that the Greenlandic people is using its right to speak on behalf of itself. We have our minister at the meeting represented the Greenland.
Thank you for not making your entire stream about influencer streamer drama. Brother, there are so many insane things happening around the world. Any content creator that spends any amount of time in this day and age when Trump is like entertaining bombing Iran. The Islamic Republic has violently stamped out all the protests that have taken place in the country. ICE is dominating Minneapolis in an effort to, one, distract away from the Epstein files, and also to you know, basically test out how hard they can go without Americans actually pushing back. And on top of that, Trump is entertaining the colonial occupation of Greenland. Any content creator that says that they are primarily a political commentator in this day and age, in this moment, that spends any amount of time entertaining drama, is not a real political commentator. They're just deeply unserious. They just want to farm some of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. That's it. Anyone that does this, that then tries to claim that they are a serious political content creator, should never be taken seriously. And before people say, you did that yesterday, like I was looking at the clip channels and stuff, right? I do 8 hours of 8 hours of fucking news broadcasts. Yes, there are instances where it's not going to be all news. I did that after covering 7 hours of ongoing incidents, both in the United States of America and around the world. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that there is not going to be instances where I fucking, you know, switch gears a little bit. Did you cover Aiden Ross yesterday? Yeah, I did. 32-month subscriber. I did. After, it was a 7-hour day. After 6 hours of covering the news, I did 1 hour of Aiden Ross. Take an hour off. Asian Ross. Yeah, the Joe Budden segment was awesome.
We, the Kingdom of Denmark, continue to believe that also the long-term security of Greenland can be ensured inside the current framework, the 1951 agreement on the defense of Greenland, as well as the NATO treaty. For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk.
You've talked yourself into a corner here. I don't think you understand, brother. 6 hours of everything that's going on is sufficient. 6 hours of drama is not. A lot of these content creators actually spend, you know, they go live for like 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, and they spend every fucking waking moment talking about drama. Like dumb fucking drama. These are deeply unserious people who basically slap on the patina of doing real political commentary, but instead are just simply doing drama. And the reason why they have to claim that they're doing this as accountability, or they have to do this as like political disagreements being addressed. The reason why they do that is because most people would laugh at them if they were just simply saying, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy at all. And the reason why I'm talking about this nonstop is because I have a personal resentment. Okay? I have a personal resentment towards this individual. I don't like him. My friends don't like him. And that's the reason why I'm talking about him nonstop. That's the reason why I'm disparaging him nonstop. Breaking. Hasanabi agrees to disagree with a bad faith derailer chatter. Yeah. At best, my coverage over like other content creators or drama or whatever the fuck is at best 10% of this broadcast.
We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore.
He's talking politics and getting mad when he gets corrected. No, I'm literally in the process of talking politics, and that chatter just wants to argue with me.
If we can find a common way forward. Even though we wasn't so successful that we reached, a conclusion where our American colleagues said, "Oh, sorry, it was totally misunderstanding. We gave up on our ambitions." There's clearly a disagreement. We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president, while we at the same time respect the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark.
Yeah, they will definitely not do that. They are not respecting any red lines. Let's be real. Is it drama though? Because sadly, those guys in their ideology are spilling onto the normal world. Yeah, that's why I bracket off Asmongold as a separate actor. If you're talking about that, then that's different. But if you're talking about like Hutch or Ethan Klein or any number of like different liberals, their ideology is not seeping into the real world. As a matter of fact, they have changed trajectory. They've come to our side in their expression, in their anger, in their resentment towards the Trump administration, rather than hyper focusing on a bunch of people to the left of them. So in that regard, they have no real motion. You got fucking wine moms who are self-IDing as liberals going out and doing ICE Watch. You got wine moms. You got the radical Karen coalition that is out there getting in the face of ICE agents on a daily fucking basis. You got wine moms who are demanding more from the Democratic Party. Liberals are not actually winning the political conversation right now. They are becoming a part of the anti-fascist coalition. They are becoming bigger fans of Zoran and AOC than Chuck Schumer. So if you want to bracket this off as like ideological delineations on the left, if you consider the liberals to be a part of the left flank of the two major political planks in this country, then our side, or at least representatives that are closer to our ideology, are absolutely some of the most popular political figures and popular political actors in this nation right now. The people that have spent the last election cycle dick riding the DNC into oblivion have no real working representation amongst the base of support in the Democratic Party right now. The Bernie-crats have infinitely more motion in the eyes of the public than the establishment Democrats do. The establishment Democrats are seen as like poisonous for the most part. The sequence of defeats that the Democrats have brought by saying we got to be more centrist, we got to be more moderate over and over again has caused many of the voters to finally recognize that that's a lie. So while there are liberal content creators out there who are still maintaining this like weird centrist posture, they're simply following our lead. Okay? They're following our lead. They're following from behind. And even at first, they might say, they might turn around and say stuff like, why are the Podjons platforming Hassan? He's a dangerous terrorist. But electoral victories end up creating this environment where they have to fall in line. This has always been my assessment. I've always said, no one is actually a Joe Biden supporter through and through. They're a party supporter. They like the Democratic Party. Okay? They like the Democratic Party. They support the Democratic Party. So if the Democratic Party tomorrow became a communist party, they would support the Communist Democratic Party. Obviously, this is an extreme example. It's not going to happen. But they support the regime. Okay? What do you want, passionate tea drinker? I got a little info from Denmark. Check logs. I got a little tidbit for you. What is this? While the Danish government exploited their fishing as Denmark and EU are dependent on keeping the fish prices low, but the catch is Greenland has been made dependent on money from Denmark in order to survive, as their main income is from fishing. In 2023 alone, they earned Denmark 6 billion Danish krones. Hey, Danish here, just to let you know, the Danish defense has sent resources to help Greenland's defense. This includes military materials and troops. Concern doesn't cover what the Danish people feel they are preparing, which is hilarious because Denmark colonized Greenland, tried to commit an ethnocide, and forcefully removing kids from their homes. Yes, I am aware of this. And I suspect that given the choice between being Danish and being American, it kind of feels like, Hassan, you were featured on the Foreign Report podcast this past week. What's the Foreign Report podcast? They would rather stay in Europe than get liberated by America. Of course, the reality of the matter is, will Europe do anything if Trump moves? Fuck no. At most, they'll say, oh, you're disbanding NATO. Those are threats. I don't think there's any real action behind those threats.
The press...
We already watched
We
this.
have already said that we wanted to do more trade and more opportunities together with America. So I'm not sure why he wants to invade us and take us over, but we are saying no, thank you. Kindly, please don't take us over. We will work together with you as the good allies we have always been.
There's simply no such thing.
I am reminded of Mark Rutte, the current leader of NATO, calling Donald Trump daddy in text messages, in private text messages. And when those text messages were leaked by Donald Trump, who loved being called daddy, he turned around and said, yeah, I did say that. So just understand what the NATO position is, okay? Mark Rutte called Trump daddy.
As a better colonizer. And this whole talk about buying Greenland or taking over Greenland to us has very clear connotations to ways of viewing the world that are long gone, an imperialistic superiority approach. So there's no doubt about Greenland being organized in a constitutional model that is coherent and recognized by...
Please entertain me. I don't understand. What's to talk about? Someone came up and wants to take your land. You're saying no. What's to talk about? Yeah. The talk is for liberals that still masquerade as though there is some international order. And this is anything but might makes right politics in play. For the longest time, America has at least entertained the notion that Europe has any sort of sovereignty. Okay? That time is passing. We are now saying the quiet part out loud. For years and years, I said, the Europeans don't understand that they're vassal states, and Europeans got very mad at me. Europeans in my chat got very mad at me. Some of them became Asmongold watchers, as a matter of fact. Some of them became Destiny watchers, as a matter of fact. European liberals would get mad at me all the fucking time. I would say, look, Europe is vassal. Europe is a sequence of vassal states that are completely colonial cucked by America, by the American empire. And people get fucking super mad. Once again, I was right, but too early. Okay? And I get it. It's not necessarily that, I was being harsh. I was being harsh when I said it. But sometimes you need to hear the fucking truth. Donald Trump is doing away with the polite conversations. It's ironic because if he were to continue entertaining the polite conversations, Europe would play ball anyway because they are still vassals. Did you just say Europe won't do anything if Trump invades Greenland? So you really think they'll just let him take Greenland? I don't think Trump will take Greenland, but if he does, once we are at that point, I think NATO goes to war with Trump. NATO goes to war with America? Brother, there is no NATO without America. NATO, I'm going to do this one more time. And I know this is a tricky one, especially because, understandably, a lot of Europeans are fearful of Russian domination, right? NATO is America. NATO is an extension of American might. NATO is a protection racket that the American government has designed, first to fight against the USSR during the Cold War, and then to fight against Russia. There is no NATO. There is no NATO without America. First of all, I ain't stupid. Drop the condescending shit. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you realize the U.S. taking Greenland is equally insane at that point. All bets are off to a large extent. We'll see. I'm from Sweden, and a lot of Europeans think NATO is a European alliance. It's a European alliance that seemingly demands more money from Europe in exchange for American weapons that America has, almost complete control over. That ends up having American military bases in your country, American espionage facilities inside of your country that you have no control over. And it's all actually Europe. They have complete control over this stuff for sure. The beat between you and Asman is scripted and you have no way to prove me wrong. Yeah, totally. I scripted some of the dumbest people on the planet to come in here and call me a fucking terrorist dog murderer every day. I love that. I love that shit. It's my favorite. I love having a large voice on this platform spit out some of the most toxic bile you've ever fucking seen in your goddamn life, upping the intensity with every stream. I'm a fucking masochist.
International law. So this huge disrespect, I think, is something that is very obvious for the vast majority of the people of Greenland.
We're hoping that some reason and some sense will come to the Trump administration. I'm not sure whom his advisors are, but they have been advising him wrongly in the security question, clearly.
Attempting to taking over Greenland by coercion or by force will stifle the democratic world as we know it, and it will no longer be about just Greenland. And I very much share the concern and the clear-headedness of the Danish Prime Minister in saying that it would be the end of the NATO alliance.
This is not a way to treat an ally and a friend. We have to do the right thing here.
Their message is written in black and white throughout the snow-covered streets of their capital. Greenland is not for sale. Unswayed by the US president's cash proposals to buy their country.
No, hiçbir boka katmamalarına rağmen bana bunlara katıyorlar. Türklerin çoğu biz European Union'la ilgili. Bro, Europeans aren't ready for the arrogance of the American podcast government. They think being white will save them. Nah, they ain't going to be ready for this. Eurolibs thinks U.S. values democracy. I mean, yeah, Eurolibs think Europe values democracy too. It's a fucking lie.
These residents want him to mind his own business.
What is he going to do with Greenland? He speaks of Russians and Chinese and everything in Greenlandic waters or in our country. We are only 57,000 people.
There are ships around the coast from other countries, but we have never ever have any problem with these ships before.
We don't want to be a part of US and they should leave us alone.
The prospect of being part of the United States is a definitive no for 85% of Greenland's population, according to a 2025 poll. The majority of the semi-autonomous territory have long wanted independence from Denmark, which first colonised the island in the 1700s. Now they are having to grapple with how to respond to President Trump's threat of US annexation, with or without military intervention.
We as a Greenlandic people, we are up for diplomacy, we're up for democracy, we're up for justice, and we're not gonna grab the sword.
I feel bad. I shouldn't be laughing, but like, it's just not like, this is propaganda. These aren't real Greenlanders. I really think you should listen to more Greenlanders. All 5 of us, we're ready to join Greater Vinland. Anything else is colonial erasure of our lived experience. Greenland has suffered ever since Eric the Red was unfairly canceled in 982. It's just, this is literally the same exact like hypocritical dynamic that took place when Russia invaded Ukraine, and then everyone was on board with defending Ukraine, international human rights, all this stuff, and then October 7 happened, and then Israel started punishing all Palestinians, right? This is identical to that situation, because on the one hand, you got America being like, we're taking Venezuela because it has oil and we want it, and Europe is like, thank you, Mr. President. That's such a fantastic thing that you're doing. I love that you are doing the rule of law and democracy in Venezuela. Finally, you have destroyed a ruthless tyrant. And then right at the same moment, Trump is like, also, Greenland is mine too, bitch. Fuck you gonna do about it? And Europeans are like, wait a minute, sir. We are a nation of rules and laws. What do you mean you're taking Greenland? Excuse me, hello? That's a NATO country. We are white. We are white. What do you mean? Not realizing that from the American perspective, it doesn't fucking matter. This has triggered LFI France on bound to introduce legislation for France to exit NATO. It's not very likely to pass right now, but it's a breath of fresh air in the political debate. We're doing what we can. I mean, France is one of the only major powers in Europe that has its own nuclear arsenal that has actually left NATO in the past. So, I mean, more power to Mélenchon, Melon Goat, my goat. So, I'm on board. I'm on board with that and fully.
Will happen. The United States will try to buy Greenland or they will invade it.
People forget, but there was a time when Europe understood what NATO was. Okay? There was a time when European powers understood that NATO was actually violating their sovereignty and denying them sovereignty and basically turning into a missile sponge for the USSR in order to advance American interests. Straight up. That time is long gone, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
To think clearly.
I'm just simply stating that, like, I don't believe the current European leadership will ever seriously reconsider being a part of NATO.
And think about how can we defend our country.
Trump claims the United States needs the territory for its national security, but European leaders have expressed fears he risks global stability. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu said Wednesday that the words of the US president should not be underestimated and that France stands in full solidarity with Denmark and the legitimate authorities of Greenland.
NATO supported Franco regime in Spain, the Cardinals dictatorship in Greece, the Salazar regime in Portugal, as well as the far-right Gladio network in Italy. So yes, I am 100% in favor of my country, France, getting the fuck out of it. Mélenchon is right. Dude, I would dick ride the French into oblivion if they did that. If there was a LFI-backed anti-NATO movement in France, oh my God. Because that is the only way that you actually do get out of NATO, okay? I do not believe any of these fucking bloodless fascists will ever actually pull out of NATO. No matter how hard, like Meloni, for example, claimed that she was anti-NATO when she was running and then obviously wasn't. when she became the leader of Italy, right? In the European continent, no fascist has ever genuinely and seriously considered leaving NATO. NATO is what made the fascist movements come back into power after World War II anyway. I will stop my French slander. I already love Mélenchon. You guys know this. That's my goat. I wish we had a Mélenchon in America, an American Mélenchon. Oh my God. Oh God. I would hug and kiss him every day.
The Arctic town of Ilulissat hasn't seen the sun for 2 months. Since November, the polar night has kept this community in western Greenland in near complete darkness. Sekeniafik is the annual celebration to welcome it back. Up the snowy crags they've climbed to gaze across the icebergs at the brightening sky and wait. A moment of reflection for the Greenlanders gathered.
Personally, for the new year, I hope things will remain peaceful. I think a lot of people know what's going on right now, and everyone's got their focus and their eyes on Greenland, and for the first time people are really acknowledging us as a population, but it's not in the way I had hoped.
When the sun
Greenland mention. Oh wait. she said Greenland mention. Never mind. I didn't like that. You're paying too much attention to us now. I do not like being perceived. Please stop perceiving us. Never mind.
Does creep over the horizon. It's shrouded in cloud, and the song
hand-wringing vassals politely groveling to their king to not pillage their towns. Classic EU moment. It's true. It's sad, but it's true.
Songs which usually greet this moment are absent.
The sun may have returned for a new year, but these are not the brightest times for many people in Greenland. With Donald Trump, there is trouble on the horizon.
The US president has not backed down from threats to take over Greenland one way or another, as he puts it, and he's not ruling out military force. The crisis has widened fissures between Europe and the United States, and thought for now...
You mentioned that NATO brought fascism back to Europe. Could you say more about that? I've covered it extensively in the past, but I can't get into it right now. But just Google Operation Gladio or look at who the first German generals were when Germany was introduced into NATO.
A sometimes tricky relationship between Greenland and Denmark. The Danish and Greenlandic foreign ministers are meeting US State Secretary Marco Rubio and Vice President Vance in Washington on Wednesday.
My hope is that Rubio is going to have some humanity in that talk.
Carl Sandgreen is an Ilulissat native. He runs the Ice Fjord Centre here, and my questions about Trump's ambitions for his homeland bring out raw feelings.
You make me emotional and angry in the same time.
Hey, Hassan, do you think that the best play for the U.S. is just glass Greenland and Taiwan so it doesn't fall into oppressive Chinese communist hands? It may be a bit overboard, but it's probably the best way to keep those places from falling under Chinese control. Not just Chinese control, Chinese communist control, Chi-Com control. Yeah, I think I'm a reasonable international rule-based order NATO Atlanticist, and I agree with you. Obviously, it seems like it's the final solution or the final option, but some of these people are going to have to die, but I'm okay with that because obviously we would have to relinquish control to a much scarier group of people, which are the Chinese communists. Yeah, it's for our national security. Yeah, the MacArthur method, exactly. I'm American Admiral Curtis LeMay, also known as Bombs Away LeMay. I have a very reasonable middle-of-the-ground position here. We must glass everyone in order not to let them fall into Chinese communist hands.
He's not welcome to, do something like that to us. We are totally different. We are Inuit, and we've been living here for thousands of years. This is my daughter's and my son's future.
Bomber commanders aren't admirals. Whatever. I don't know the fucking
people
actual
who are thinking
title.
about resources.
Two hunters gut a seal on the glacial ice of Ilulissat's immense fjord. Though Inuit have been living like this for countless generations, in the span of just one, Global warming is changing life here. Donald Trump could bring a shift more rapid still. In Washington, Greenland and Denmark's governments are hunting for an escape. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, Ilulissat, Greenland.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights.
Right now.
By the way, here's Ben Norton, living my dream, living in China, obviously, every single day, saying the leader of NATO made it clear that the U.S.-led imperialist alliance is not only fighting Russia, but also China and North Korea and Iran. Meanwhile, Trump spits in the face of his European allies, and they say, thank you, Daddy. Let's wage more wars on the global south, please. Here is the NATO position.
And yes, it is undeniable that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are aligning more and more. And they are challenging us. But they are only...
Bitch, what do you mean us? What do you mean us? No. No, they're not. You're not part of the team. You're just literally waiting there to be seized, okay? This is what I don't understand. It's like you are just a dog to America. You are a servant of American empire. Oh, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we don't let these fucking scary Chinese take us over. It's like, brother, you have already been taken over by America. You are not a part of the team. That's it. I don't, oh my God.
Starting to understand what partnership really means. We are miles ahead. We can build on decades of friendship between our organizations and between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic. And we can build on the growing...
Bro, I swear, America's going to take over. America's going to literally take over other fucking Nordic countries next. They're going to be like, I don't know. They're going to pull a Venezuela on Norway. They're going to be like, a lot of your extraction industries have been nationalized, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think we need to do some free market capitalism here. You know, really fix it up. Kind of feels like you're... eating good off of your nationalized oil sector. That's not good.
Partnerships with countries around the world. And
did he say miles ahead instead of kilometers ahead?
Organizations and between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic. And we can build on means.
Did he say miles ahead? No.
What partnership really means. We are miles ahead.
Daddy. Daddy. I love Daddy Trump.
And between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic.
I'm kidding. It's just an expression.
And we can build on the growing partnerships with countries around the world. And that is an incredible advantage. Let's ensure we retain it.
Nobody says kilometers ahead. Yeah, you've been fucking Americucked from the start, baby. Woo! Woo, America! Waving the flag. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Liberation time.
It sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country. The United. Are you saying that? Would you do that?
No, you're saying that.
Would you
I didn't say it. No, you're telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your network doesn't know either.
The Danish foreign minister said that there's still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra...
Yeah, they can't even defend themselves from us. Here I am talking about invading it, and they're talking, oh, please don't do it. They're weak, very weak. It's just a test. If they can't defend themselves against us, what makes you think they can defend themselves against Russia, or China? Broski, what are you overall saying? When the only other option was Pact Warszawski, NATO was the best thing in Europe. Also, first German general in NATO was tried for being accused in the failed Adolf assassination attempt. Yeah, he was one of the. First of all, I don't even think that's the case. Okay. And secondly, the option is sovereignty. The fuck do you mean? Sovereignty, actually having sovereignty, leveraging relationships between the USSR and the United States of America.
Dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan
Thank you
and
for telling me
Iraq.
that. I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with
an
Denmark,
ally
and we'll see how it all works
I
out.
appreciate
I think
it.
something will work out.
The protests in Iran approaching the 3-week mark.
Yeah, he seems to really appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna get back to Iran right now because there is a no flight, no TAM issued by Iran, closing the airspace to all flights except international flights to and from Iran with permission. No TAM is valid for a little more than 2 hours. Here's what the Iranian airspace looks like right now. It was a case where that dude still did participate in war crimes and Holocaust on the front line. I thought there was other generals that were involved in NATO that were just like straightforward Nazis, weren't even a part of any dissent against Adolf Hitler. USS Theodore Roosevelt Nimitz class aircraft carrier leaving San Diego January 14th. Now, are locals throughout Iraq hear jets overhead? Iraqi sources reporting hearing increased fighter jet activity over the region. Oh shit, is Israel striking? I mean, we'll see. There were like 20 high-ranking Nazis in NATO. I know my shit. Yeah, there were definitely pro-Hitler generals in NATO. Orders have been given to the Iranian Air Defense Command to immediately engage any aircraft that enters airspace without prior identification. Okay, maybe things are happening. Fighter jets on Iraq and Iran border. Iraqi news outlet Al Jabal reports that residents heard and observed fighter jets earlier tonight over Basra in southern Iraq, only miles away from the border with Iran. What is this music? Arma 3 footage law? Bro, that's not even, you can't even see what that is. Like, you can't even see what that is to even make out whether or not it's Arma 3 footage or not. Reminder that this is what Trump was tweeting before allowing Israel to strike Iran. Remember, yeah, exactly. So that's the reason why I said earlier today when Donald Trump was talking about like, oh, they're not going to execute people anymore. They've stopped killing the protesters, blah, blah, blah. If you recall a couple hours ago, which you can rewind to see my commentary if you're subscribed to the Piker Broadcasting Service. That's right. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. If you'd like to know the news of tomorrow, today, subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service with a free subscription in the form of a Twitch Prime if you choose to do so. There will be no ad breaks here at the Piker Broadcasting Service, and your voluntary contributions are the only thing that helps maintain my editorial independence. But as I was saying earlier, Donald Trump did this last time where he was like, we remain committed to diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boom. They turned around and bombed Iran, or let Israel bomb Iran only hours after this statement came out. So what I think is, that's why I said like perfidy is something that the American government loves doing. So it could totally have been that as well. And even this like aircraft carrier moving is similar to the distractions that they had with the other fighter, with the bomber jets last time around as well. Big Daddy Hoops, thank you for the 25 Get This subs. Iran's foreign minister, an interview in Fox News to Trump, do not repeat the mistake you made in June. You know, if you try a failed attempt, you will get the same result. Yeah. The only thing that I thought would restrain Israel or America is the fact that there aren't enough American defenses in the region right now to successfully defend Israel. And I don't think that Israel's defenses are sufficient. I don't even think Israel's defenses on top of the American American carriers in the region and cruisers in the region were sufficient to defend against Iran when they were striking Tel Aviv. But maybe they believe that Tehran has depleted their munitions in the same way that Israel had its stockpile of munitions depleted, its defensive capabilities depleted. Iran nukes Tel Aviv, will the entire world end? Wait, what? Iran doesn't have nukes, brother. If Iran had nukes, this conversation would not be taking place right now. What? There's even more reports of fighter jets overheard over eastern Iraq. Well, I mean, Iran doing a no-flight, Iran doing a NOTAM warning means that they got information ahead of time somehow that there are probably going to be strikes on Iranian soil, most likely by Israeli fighter jets, I assume. Kataib Hezbollah Islamic Resistance in Iraq spokesperson has issued a short statement likely to express readiness for the upcoming conflict. He said, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, O you who have believed, take your precautions in advance in detachments or advance altogether. God Almighty has spoken the truth." Probably cleared to not accidentally shoot down commercial planes. Yeah, that has happened before. But have you thought about how Israel always knows best and we must trust them? I think about that every day. I love Israel, am Israel Chai, and I think Israel will liberate the Iranians. Israel will liberate the Iranians with these bombs. F-15 fighter jets, F-35s, different bombing campaigns in Iran will certainly liberate the Iranian population, I think. Guys, you guys know me. I call balls and strikes, and you know me. I've been a very big Trump supporter, famously. I'm beginning to think maybe Trump isn't the peace president. You might say this is my turning point. It kind of feels like Trump is not the peace president. I don't know. Don't get mad at me. It kind of feels like he was lying when he said he was the peace president. And it gives me no pleasure to report that I think the FIFA Peace Prize was bullshit. I know many of you are firm and committed to the sanctity of the FIFA Peace Prize, but I do think, God, it just, like I said, it sucks to see this. It sucks to say this. These words, they hurt me. I don't think he cares about the FIFA Peace Prize. Yeah. Anyway, here's a report from Washington Post. 2 European officials speaking on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive information said their countries were asked by the Trump administration Monday to share intelligence on possible targets within Iran. I think the funniest outcome here is like if the Danish security forces, if the Danish intelligence was giving the go-ahead to Iran and collaborating with Iran to just as a fuck you to America. It's not going to happen, but that'd be pretty funny. Denmark decides to join Iran in its anti-imperialist endeavors. The Danish-Chinese alliance. Heavy aircraft activity also heard by residents within the last hour over northern Israel and southern Syria. Axis of Resistance, newest member unlocked Denmark. That'd be so fucking sick. React on Kai's tweet. Chat, did he react to Kai's tweet? Kai's tweet. This is the lone soldier in the chat doing the bidding of what matters most. We're over here talking about how like Israel's potentially going to bomb Iran again, and who knows what will happen after that. And this chatter's like, but have you reacted to Kai Cenat's tweet? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What the fuck? What is Kai Cenat's statement on the Islamic Republic? Like, did he tweet about Iran or something? Like, what could he have possibly tweeted that you think is pertinent for me to cover right now? Yeah, it is important. Hasanabi, I need your opinion. Kai Cenat has come out with a strong, resilient stance, offering condolences to those who were slain by the Islamic Republic, while simultaneously maintaining an anti-imperialist posture by saying the only way for Iranians to maintain sovereignty against Israel is to stand behind the Islamic Republic, is what I've heard. Kai Cenat is donating all of his subathon funds to the IRGC. Ayatollah. Kai Cenat has reverted to Shia Islam. Jerusalem Post editor-in-chief. Breaking. A United Airlines flight from Newark to Israel began takeoff and then turned back. Passengers were informed the flight is currently canceled, according to I-24 News. Interesting. IRGC. Yeah. If the U.S. did a Little Green Men Crimean Peninsula-style annexation, what would the NATO nation even be able to do? I mean, dude, they already have military bases there. The fuck? All you need to do, there's already American bases there. Just send more troops there and then say, this is ours now. That's it. Like, what are they going to do? Is Germany going to fucking spend like all 13 of their soldiers that they sent to Greenland to defend Danish territory? Like, what? Why are American leftists like this? Let me find out. How do you think Trump will want to rename Greenland? Do you think he has a whiteboard with ideas up yet? He's going to call it Iceland now, and then he's going to take over Iceland and rename Iceland to Greenland. Believe me. He's going to take over. He is going to take over Iceland. I'm going to take over Iceland. I'm going to call it Greenland, because Iceland is green and Greenland is icy. Why do they have this naming convention wrong? That's why I took it over. Believe me, both of those commies, they're going to learn the freedom that comes with enterprise. Free market principles must be maintained in both of these socialist European states that have finally been liberated from the throes of social democracy. I'm going to put 30 on Kalshi for Whiteland. Kaisenat has been uploading videos of reading the Quran for 20 minutes every day and believing Ali is the successor of the prophet, as it was said. You are to me as Harun was to Moses, except there is no prophet after me. Kaisenat, the new sword of Islam. It's true. Turns out he was doing taqiyya the entire time. He was actually hiding that he is a Shia Muslim. This whole time, that was taqiyya. As he infiltrated America by claiming to be a Christian, he was, as a matter of fact, doing taqiyya. Check breaking news. What do you mean, Trek breaking news? You could not be, like, less vague. Google.com. Like, it's like the equivalent of linking Google.com in the chat and being like, dude, have you seen this? I am breaking the news. What the fuck do you mean, check breaking news? Peter Thiel, who wants to set up crypto-empowered network states on underdeveloped territory, has invested in Praxis, a startup that aims to do just that. Praxis? Oh, God. And which has scouted Greenland. Ugh. Anyway, let's get back to Trump saying help is on the way to Iran's protesters.
With fears the regime could start executing protesters today. This is 26-year-old Irfan Sultani. He was arrested last week. Activists say he's facing imminent execution. His family telling ABC News they can't sleep, waiting for news.
I think one of the grossest things, low-key, one of the fucking dumbest, grossest things that the Iranian government did after all this shit was posting a video on one of their like official Twitter channels talking about how much liberalization that has already taken place in Tehran, like showing videos of women like with their exposed midriff and things like that. It's like, bro, if you're gonna do that, then you might as well fucking go all the way. Okay, the fuck do you mean? Like, that shit is so, that was very lame, because that means that they are also aware of the internal pressure, because that's not just external pressure, right? Like, that's not, a lot of people will, a lot of people will turn around and say, oh, that's just, you just want to liberalize Iran because you're a fucking Western chauvinist, blah, 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 all this shit. Like, oh, feminism is like, this is peak white feminism using like wokeness as a tool of oppression or whatever. Like, no, there is a very real need from the population that wants these kinds of like social repressions to go away and the enforcement mechanism to go away. If you post shit like that, that means that like you understand that this is what the people are demanding. You just don't want to fucking give it to them. You only give it to them every now and then when fucking people die in the process. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
President Trump now warning the regime that if they start hanging people, we will take very strong action, promising Iranians that help is on the way.
All Iranian patriots keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you.
A handful of videos emerging online despite a near-total communications blackout, showing dramatic street clashes between an unarmed crowd and state officers in the western city of Urmia this week. Protesters chanting, "Down with Khamenei." In Isfahan, crowds seen tossing Molotov cocktails. State broadcasters also showing footage of what it says are the incinerated remains of the Grand Bazaar in Rasht. These videos from Iranian state television reportedly showing the aftermath of the protests, with burned out vehicles, stores smashed in, while crews try to repair roads and buildings. And in the capital, Tehran, this morning, funerals for state security force personnel, as the regime warns it'll quickly try and execute those it claims are responsible.
Well, we're now getting very limited information about what's happening inside Iran. It appears some protests are ongoing, but the regime's brutal tactics do appear to be working. I think the question for many this morning, when President Trump says help is on the way, what does that mean and when? George?
He has not answered that question yet. Okay, Ian, thanks very much.
Our defence and security analyst, Michael, good afternoon to you.
Asking, just curious, how do you handle protests who want the government gone in a liberal way, not the current actions are justifiable in any way? Is super simple. If you have any sort of authoritarian control, okay, and every government is authoritarian, but like if you have any sort of like state repression that you have in your design, okay, people are always going to revolt. That's just the part of the problem. Like that's just how it is. I think the liberal democracies are much more effective at squashing any sort of dissent by at least giving people the feeling, giving people the feeling that they have liberty, that they have this pressure valve of democracy, and sometimes being responsive to their needs, even though it's ultimately fake. But you have to be doubly cognizant of the demands being made by your population when you don't even have any sort of like liberal democracy, or that mechanism of control. So in that circumstance, what you have to do is immediately cave to what the protesters are demanding. If they want less repression, you have to offer that to them. I think when you don't do that, people get more frustrated, especially when you kill people over and over again. Then even more people are going to come out and take up arms, or even find themselves increasingly more invested in like aligning with foreign actors, you know, whether it be Israel or America. Is that simple. How do you have 39,000 people watching you? This is crazy. But I love the topic you discuss. Well, now you know why. 39,000 people are watching. The Iranian foreign minister is going to be on Fox News soon. Yeah. Are you talking about USA or Iran right now? I'm talking about a good one. I mean, I'm talking about Iran, which will resemble the future of the United States of America if things continue going the way they're going. I mean, look.
Submit their response by January 19th. The decision comes as immigration operations
last civilian plane into Tehran arrives in 15 minutes.
While protests have led to repeated confrontations with federal agents. We'll have a live report on that coming up later in the show. FBI agents searched the home of a Washington Post reporter as part of a probe
of Iran. I have followed you, your passion, the way you articulate the hope of your people. It will be up to the people of Iran to pick their next.
Sorry, but you're really comparing apples to oranges here? No, I'm not. That's why I also said that, look, free speech is only afforded to dominant world powers, okay? Free speech is a liberty that will be taken away from Americans if America's global power starts waning, okay? And we already saw a version of that with the Israel protests in the United States of America. We've seen this historically in the United States of America with the civil rights movement and how that was dealt with by the American state. We've seen this in the past with, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II under the suspicion that they might actually align with Japan. So when there's war, or the Espionage Act is another version of this. In the Cold War, it was the Red Scare and the McCarthyist trials. So America has always gone back and forth on how much liberty in terms of free speech Americans actually have. Okay? So it's apples to oranges now from your perspective because, yes, the American government hasn't killed 2,000 protesters. Okay? They didn't do that. Right? If push came to shove and you believe they wouldn't do that, you're delusional. They would kill 10,000 protesters.
When terrorist elements led from outside, entered these, protests, and started to shoot, police forces, police officers, and security forces. And there were terrorist cells. They came in. They used Daesh-style terrorist, operations. They got police officers.
That's this cap.
They beheaded them, and they started shooting at police officers and also to the people.
I don't know if they actually beheaded a police officer, but saying that they were doing Daesh-style attacks is bullshit.
Fighting against terrorists and not, with the protesters. It was completely a different story. The reason I have to explain, and this is important, why they started to shoot at people, for one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. They wanted to drag the President of the United States in this conflict. So they started to increase the number of deaths by killing ordinary people, by killing police officers, by starting a kind of, fighting inside the different cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you're saying that these killings, these deaths are at the hands of foreign elements inside your country, not by the Iranian regime. That's not what we're being told when we get people to talk to us on the ground. The internet has been shut off, but occasionally turns back on, and we do hear from people on the ground who tell us various stories. Witnesses spoke of seeing snipers positioned on rooftops in downtown Tehran, firing into crowds of peaceful protests, turning abruptly into scenes of carnage, panic as bullets pierced through people's heads and torsos, sending bodies toppling to the ground, and an emergency room treating 19 gunshot patients in a single hour. The regime is on a killing spree, said one protester, and we've seen the video of body bags stacking up. You were saying that all of this is because you're not in control of your country and foreign elements are killing people inside your country?
No, I'm telling you that it was a fighting between our security forces and terrorist elements who had a plan to create a big number of killings in order to provoke President Trump to enter into this conflict and start a new war against Iran. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. The footages that you mentioned have not been seen in Iran. I have to tell you that a misinformation campaign is going on at the same time.
And you're suggesting that it's Israel and Mossad acting like Iranian forces, shooting the Iranian people to make casualties to spur on the action of President Trump. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mr. Foreign Minister.
No, Mossad has already confessed that.
They may be on the ground, sir, but as far as them killing hundreds and hundreds of people to make it look like you did, it does not appear in the video that we get out that this is a full level of calm. It appears that protests continue in a number of different cities. The exiled Iranian crown prince, talking to people on the ground, said this.
About 12,000 plus.
12,000 plus.
That's what we get so far. It might be more, but that's the minimum number that we know so far have been killed.
Killed by the regime. This is not arrested. This is killed.
We are talking about using military weapons, AK-47s.
That number came from Barry Weiss, by the way. That number came directly from CBS.
Protesters. Their bodies are being picked up by bulldozers, and they charge each family for the bullet to be able to just retrieve the remains. It's abhorrent what's happening.
As a longtime viewer who watched you from inside Iran, your segment on Reza Pahlavi was deeply disappointing and hurtful. The protesters chanting his name are being shot for that symbol of opposition, dismissing his relevance, erases their voices and complex reality on the ground.
Are baseless. There is no proof of that. The number of deaths, although they tried hard to increase the number of deaths, are only hundreds. The exact figure would be announced very soon, perhaps tonight, by our authorities.
So you're saying it's less than 1,000 people?
No, hundreds of people. I certainly, deny the numbers and figures they have said. It is an exaggeration. It is a misinformation campaign only to find excuses to do another aggression against Iran. I can tell you that now it is 4 days that everything is calm. There is no demonstration, there is no unrest, nothing in Iran for the past 4 days. Yes, there has been millions of people today for funerals, and 2 days ago, a big rally in support of the of the government and of the system. So people are on the streets, but in support of the Islamic Republic.
Wow,
so
that's
please
not
do
what we hear when we hear people on the ground.
I can refer you to the tweets and sayings and interviews by Israeli officials, American officials who have claimed themselves that Mossad agents are inside Iran, in the Iranian streets, in Tehran streets. Just look at the X, account of Mossad in Persia.
Will CBS lose all credibility if that number ends up being wrong? Did New York Times lose all credibility after Screams Without Words was entirely dismissed by every fucking person, including like the internal team in New York Times? No, of course not.
Who took to X and posted this, saying for days now, calling President Trump a tyrant who will be overthrown. Why, if you're saying the Israeli outside forces inside your country are doing this, why would the supreme leader himself take to X and taunt the President of the United States?
Well, we were in the middle of a war started against us, and the rhetorics are quite normal in any war. We have many kind of threats by President Trump, by other American officials, by Europeans who are talking about Iranian, things in Iran. So we consider these 3 days, 8 January to 10, which we faced with a vast terrorism operation as the continuation of 12-day war that were imposed on us by Israelis and Americans. So the 13th day of war was 8 January. That was the continuation of the war. So we were in the middle of the war. And now, after 3 days of terrorist operation, now there is a calm. We are in full control. And let's, hope that wisdom would prevail and we don't go for a high level of tension, which could be disastrous for everybody.
Are you moving forward with hangings of some of the protesters, or at least one of the protesters?
No, I haven't heard about that, and there is no any hanging today or tomorrow or whatever. That's
Friday?
I can tell you, I'm confident about that. There is no plan for hanging at all.
Okay, well, you've heard the president's talk, President Trump, and you've heard his concern.
Why even talk to Fox News? Brother, what are you talking about?
And
First of all, Fox News,
communications
you're probably going to get a fairer shake than CNN.
On the ground. In fact, he
ironically
was asked
enough,
about this possible hanging.
And secondly,
what the
they'll go on
death
any
he's seen.
outlet that will listen to them directly. What are you talking about?
I don't know what where you come from,
and you get to talk to Trump directly when you go to Fox News.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very
Not
strong
that it matters.
action.
Trump
If
has
they
made
wanna
up his
have
mind
a
already.
Protest, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
How do you read the president's comments over the past few days?
Well, first of all, hanging is out of the question, as I said. This is another piece of misinformation campaign that they have started to provoke President Trump and to drag him into this question, and which could have disastrous consequences.
The regime has already crossed Trump's red line. Yeah, it's called being there against Israel's best interest. That's the red line. That's the real red line.
You remember that we were negotiating in June when they decided to attack us. We were in the middle of negotiations. We had 5 rounds of negotiations between me and Steve Witkoff, and we had already fixed the 6th round.
When he says they, in this situation, he means Israel and America.
2 days before that, they attacked us.
Because you came on this show and you said you were never going to reduce legitimate enrichment. You were never going to drop it down. You also talked about continuing a ballistic missile program. Is that continuing today? That's why the president said he was moving forward on the nuclear program that was expanding.
No, both enrichment and our defense capabilities are our legitimate rights. No, as a full and committed member of NPT, we have every right to do enrichment for peaceful purposes. And you cannot tell another country that you shouldn't exercise your right, otherwise you will be attacked.
Yeah. What is that noise in the background?
We talked about this. We talked about this months ago. Are you open to direct talks with the Trump administration to try to find a solution that could de-escalate
Bro, are they gonna fucking blow this guy up while he's talking to Fox News?
Iran is still insisting on its peaceful nuclear program, including enrichment. But our position has not changed. We are still, committed not to go for nuclear weapons.
It was recorded 2 hours ago?
But we are not ready to give up our legitimate right for peaceful use of nuclear technology, including enrichment.
Legitimate peaceful purposes. Legitimate peaceful purposes for a nuclear program usually are not buried a mile down deep. And that is where the concern was.
Maybe they shouldn't have posted nuclear threats then. Oh my God, shut the fuck up. See, this is what I mean.
And when now he decided
this is what makes me, this kind of dumb fuck bullshit that people say turn me into a fucking, make me sound like I'm a Ayatollah dick rider, okay? I can't tell if you're like trying to bait me into saying some shit.
What's going on really on the ground?
Shut the fuck up.
Has to pay
Please.
attention to the realities and not to the misinformation provided to him by those who want to drag him into another war.
Again, I go back to the Supreme Leader, who does not sound like he's anxious to sit down in talks with President Trump as a country, as he's taunting him, calling him a tyrant who will be overthrown. How do you do that and think that President Trump is going to take that as, oh yes, I should get to the table?
No, come on. We have engaged into negotiation with the U.S. several times with the permission of the Supreme Leader. Why you say that?
Why you still live in the USA? It's my home. I want to fix my home.
Unless you're telling me that the Ayatollah is not posting this.
Tell me, please wait. We negotiated with the United States several times, and
you think
all
bombing
of them
Iran would bring
turned
peace
into
in the
a
Middle
very
East? No, I
negative
don't.
experience. In 2015,
Lol, good
we
night,
negotiated
Iran.
for
Do you think bombing Iran will bring peace in the Middle East? No, I don't. I don't think that. It'll be far worse.
With no reason and with no justification. So why we should engage into negotiation with the United States, which means in fact, when United States talk about negotiation, it means they want dictation and not negotiation. So we have no good experience. This is a fact. Please understand.
Mr. Foreign Minister, on all of those points, the U.S. would say they came away from those talks saying that you were not pledging to do what you said you would do, and that every time they walked away from the table, they believed you were throwing it out the window as far as enrichment and solutions for that, as far as ballistic missiles, solutions for that, and as far as your role in funding terrorists around the region. Now, I don't want to belabor this point, but the Supreme Leader posted, Mr. Foreign Minister, on X numerous times about a taunting for President Trump. He's 86 years old. We have not heard from him. Is the Supreme Leader doing well in Iran? Will we hear from the Supreme Leader in this case?
He's doing well, and he is, in full control of the country, and people are supporting him, as everybody saw today in the funeral of those who were killed by terrorists, and 2 days ago in rally of Tehran and other cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, by all accounts, on the outside and on the inside, when we can get it, the Iranian economy is in a free fall. That is what started a lot of these protests, despite you saying that this was started from the outside and from Israel and Mossad. Our reporting is that it was started by frustrated people with the economic situation and frustrated for years of oppression from the regime.
For 10 days, it was peaceful, and it was tolerated by the government. But after that, we had 3 days of terrorism operation.
You said that, but now you're saying it's entirely peaceful.
Now, no, it is calm. There is no demonstration. There is no protest. It is for 4 days that everything is, calm.
Okay, so what do you tell, if you have a message, for President Trump, who obviously is and has talked about and is considering some kind of action to help the protesters on the ground. If you have a message for him, what is the message?
My message is do not repeat the same mistake that you did in June. If you try a failed experience,
bro, these are fake demons. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but they're fake demons.
Yes, you destroy the facilities, the
and part of the reason why they keep getting rolled over is because they're fake demons. Fake demons who are big demons when it comes to their own citizens, but fake demons when it comes to outsiders, okay? Straight up.
For negotiation, for diplomacy. We have proved that in the past 20 years, in 2015, in 2025, every time. But it was the US who always escaped from diplomacy, who cut the diplomacy and opted for war. My message is, between war and diplomacy, diplomacy is a better way, although we don't have any positive experience from the United States, but still diplomacy is much better than war.
Mr. Foreign Minister,
explain, please. This might come as a shock to many people who are chock full of American propaganda, but one of the biggest problems with Iranian affairs in the region is that they are unimaginably restrained. They never do anything unless they are directly threatened and unless they are like directly ritualistically humiliated by Israel or America. And even when they do, their response is always insanely restrained. And they're restrained in comparison to the way that they talk about how they will retaliate is the reason why I say they're fake demons. It has been proven time and time again that Israel only responds to military force. Israel only backs down when they are punished. Okay? That's it.
Damn, this guy's good.